They ran it 30 times and threw it 18 against USF. That's 48 plays. Maybe there were a few that that resulted in.
Well, again, they had the long run. They had they had a 3-play drive because they had the long run by Johnson in that game, and they had a pick six.
Just looking at right here, USF ran 74 plays to Florida's 48.
Mm-hmm.
And here from Miami ran 77 plays to A&M's 52. So let me get this straight. Miami ran 25 more plays. They gained 130 more yards. They had 27 first downs. They didn't score a touchdown. I'm telling you, I saw the stat. They're like the first team this century to have 27 first downs and not score a touchdown.
Saw another one. The Bears had the third lowest pass attempts this century, by the way.
15 through 2 games. No, that's his completions. I'm sorry. He's completed 15 passes total in 2 games.
Their total passes, it's staggering, man.
Me and Roto have beef right now. He told me to draft Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet has yet to catch a pass this year.
Yeah, well, I got to admit, I think Roto was right, and the Bears are incompetent. Texans and Bears, by the way, in Chicago. Here's the funny thing. The Bears host the Texans, and then they play the Giants. I mean, they could ham and egg their way to 3-1. And they're not any good.
And like I told our assistant pro at the golf course yesterday, the Giants could be 4-0 and still finish 6-11.
Yes. And as a lifelong Giants fan, I can quote you the 94 team, which started 3-0 and was 3-7 7 weeks later. But then won their final 6. I missed the playoffs in a tiebreaker.
Clowney's out Thursday night.
I can't believe it. Jadeveon Clowney's out with an injury?
Yeah, I know.
Shocking.
Adam, your positivity towards your Jags is something to behold. I hope you're right.
Paul, compelling football last night. Yeah. Our game didn't have any points in the second half.
No, it didn't.
We've had 3 points scored in the second half for the 2 Monday night games we've done this year. 3. It was 17-13 at the half in Seattle. It finished 17-16. It was 24-7 at the half last night. It finished 24-7.
I didn't make much of your second half.
Well, that's okay. Now they're the Vikings. So.
And Kirk Cousins continues his Monday night mastery. And by mastery, he's like 2-10 now on Monday nights.
Well, didn't he have that streak that he broke like in the last 2 years where he hadn't won a game in primetime?
Yeah, yes. It's hard to disagree with that statement, Adam.
1 minute.
Adam, the way the Colts and Titans look, 8 might win that division.
Morning, John in Crockett, Texas.
John, where is Crockett? I could look it up.
Right next to Davy.
Oh, man, that was too easy.
I know.
Set that one up. By the way, population 6424.
All right, let's do this.
It's in Houston County, so.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. We asked the question. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on a Tuesday as we put week 2 to the NFL to bed last night with a doubleheader, an offset doubleheader at that. I don't know about you, Mark. A lot of people texting me during the game going, I don't like this very much. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm in Philadelphia. I'll get back to the Sunshine State later today after the two home teams were whooped up on their opponents last night. And I do mean whooped up. 65-14 whooped up. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I love the 7:15 start, David. If we could have more of those, I would be all in.
Let me tell you, I don't know about you. I was getting berated by a few friends of the show at around halftime, third quarter of the Vikings-Eagles game going, man, this is 7:15, 8:30. I don't like it. The game's going on at the same time. All right. I can't watch both games. All right. And I literally texted the one guy back and said, okay, I get it. I'm working.
Yeah, did they not know you had something to do?
Well,
you had one, you have something to do, and two, you have nothing to do with this doubleheader.
Well, I did say that also. I go, I don't know if this is ABC, ESPN's doing. I don't know if this is the NFL's doing. All right. All I know is that, you pay nearly $3 billion a year. They give you a few extra games. And so you got to figure out when you're going to run them. And so they tried this 7:15, 8:30 thing. I'll take your vote as a no, and I'll pass it along. Thank you very much.
When I'm asked by the powers that be.
Right, which happens all the time.
Right.
And by all the time, we mean not at all. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I will say, all right, Dolphins, did the Bills' performance, their second in prime time already this year, did the Bills' performance make you realize, listen, Sunday was exciting, and then, I think we're pretty good and all, but holy blank, that's what we got to go up against, huh?
We've talked about it for a while, David. The Dolphin had to endure 2 decades of Tom Brady in New England.
Right.
He leaves.
Yes. And he leaves the conference even. He leaves.
They go back-to-back winning records here, although not in the playoffs, but back-to-back winning records where you can see, and then this guy, this Josh Allen thing emerges last year and comes from being we'll see quarterback to an unbelievable quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And they have put so much around that team.
Mm-hmm.
They just destroyed Tennessee last night.
Mm-hmm.
That's after destroying the Rams.
Right, in the second half of the opener. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last 6 quarters, I believe, that the Bills have played, they've outscored their opponents. I think it's 62-7. Mm-hmm. Right. Yep, that's coming to town. That's coming to town Sunday, 1:00, baby. You'll get the Nance Romo Wilson treatment. You will. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. At least till about 1:20, 1:30, 2:10. Whew. They're coming.
Yes, they are.
You want to see where you stack up? Okay. All right, bring them on. I think if you're a Dolph fan, you got to hope for about 104, don't you? And I mean degrees, not like rushing yards. I mean, you've got to hope for like, the Bills just walk out onto the field and think they're in Death Valley. And I don't mean Clemson. I mean the desert.
The Bills open as a 5-point favorite over the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, I thought that was against the 86 Bears or 85 Bears. Man, they look good right now. They look good.
Yeah, there's really not a part of the team you could pick on.
No, not yet. Nope. No one's gotten hurt yet. Listen, this is how good the Bills look. We talked about this 2-3 weeks ago, right on the eve of the season, that Bills fans were skittish because it's Super Bowl or bust. They haven't been in this situation in 30 years, and they didn't know how to handle it. Right? All the Bills fans in your life, my life, the whole deal, everyone we talk to, they're like, oh, don't say Super Bowl or bust. Why
are we on prime time 5 times this year? On Sundays when we play.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me nervous. I mean, come on. I got used to 1 o'clock. I got a ritual, the whole deal.
They thought they were NASCAR for crying out loud.
Right. Now, 2 games into the season, the Bills fans that I know are sending me texts going, we're the best damn team alive. We're going to destroy people. We're going to take names. Do you have any sway? Can you get me a hotel room at the Super Bowl? Do you know anybody still at Fox? All right. We are going to destroy people. I'm not saying we're going to be the 72 Dolphins here. We may lose 1 or 2 just because we're bored. But we are going to the Super Bowl. Wow. Damn. What a difference 10, 12 days have made.
There's no doubt. And I think you did that incredibly accurately because there were 14 we's in that fake conversation you had. And that is exactly how this is going right now. There is no the Bills. It is us. It is we. It is our team.
All right. I'm going to read you a text. Now, meanwhile, I'm working last night. Most people who are, in my life, even a smidge, know that I am working. All right. The Bills are the best damn team in football, and it's not even close. And I take immense pride in saying that. This was the same guy 12 days earlier that when I said Super Bowl or bust, he collapsed into the fetal position and started shaking.
I'm just waiting for the next pickup line because one of Maddie's teachers proudly wears a Bills hat in the pickup line. And I'll chat with him. And he was the same way before. He's like, oh, man. And, he's a teacher. He's a gym teacher. He's a happy guy. He gives me the, oh, man, I know we're good. Don't do that.
Right.
I'm guessing the next time I go to pick up my kid, he's going to have the face paint on,
whole deal.
Ready to go on a Friday.
We're going to destroy the Dolphins on Sunday, and the East is already going to be won. They're going to put a check mark next to us in the standings. Yep. That's where we're at after last night, baby. I will say, the Colts and the Titans are off to a rough start this year. Yeah. 0-3-1 combined.
And have looked awful.
As a matter of fact, they have.
I mean, awful.
They really have. The Titans played 2 good quarters against the Giants, and the Colts played a 4th quarter against the Texans. And that's 3 quarters out of 16 that those 2 teams have played. Yeah. Right. Both had winning records last year. Yeah. Whoo. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. But I do want to throw out there, I am just curious. All right, the 7:15, 8:30 thing. Did that work, or was that annoying? Were you like, what the heck? I'm missing some of both games here. I don't like this.
I loved it because the first half ended basically as your game. The second game was starting. There was an injury that kind of caused that synchronization to hit damn near perfectly, but there was a pretty good delay in the first game with an injury. So that's probably why the halftimes didn't jive up, because I think there was about the 2-minute warning when you guys kicked off or thereabouts in Philadelphia. I have no problem. You know me, I love an early game. Instead of two going, if they're going to do a doubleheader, I'd rather they stagger them than put them simultaneously. And I don't think they'll ever put it that much earlier where they're completely separate because of the West Coast audience.
All right, I'm confused. You said you'd rather stagger them than put them simultaneously. Do you mean
that have two games at 8:30? Like if they're going to have a double header.
Yeah, well, they'll never do that. I mean, ABC, ESPN would look at the NFL and go, "What are you doing?" No, but the only debate is, are we going to keep doing the 7-ish 8:30 doubleheader, or are we going to go back to, remember, on Mondays when they would start the season off with a doubleheader and it would be 7 and 10, and this way, in theory, you're not missing a play. So that's all.
I'll take what they did last night over 7 and 10.
Okay. Well, so I believe last night is the only one of those scheduled this year on a Monday. I believe the final Saturday of the regular season, ABC, ESPN has a doubleheader. That one I think might be like a 5 and an 8 because there's no Monday Night Football the final week of the season. They want everybody done by Sunday, get as much rest and prep for the playoffs and all that. So the Saturday, the final one of the season, I believe ABC, ESPN has 2 games. So the Levy crew will do the early one and Joe and Troy will do the late one. And I think they're perfectly staggered. I don't think they overlap. But next year, I believe, Mark, the plan is that what you had last night, they'll do 3 times. So I don't know if people liked it or found it annoying. Once again, the Bills fans who text me say that they now have the 85 Bears only with a better offense. They also then told me how much they hate 7:15 and 8:30. And I was texting them all back saying, A, I'm working. B, okay, lighten up. Your team just won by 5 touchdowns. Have another drink and jump on a table.
My favorite was the jumping into the empty beer cans in the back of the pickup bed. I liked that more than the jumping onto the table. Anything that they're going to destroy jumping on, I'm a fan of. It's a special group right there in Buffalo. They've earned it. They deserve this.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
If it comes crashing down on Sunday and they lose to the Dolphins, I'll laugh even harder.
I do think, though, that the football gods could make it very funny. They could face Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, who's like 31-3 against them. All right, something like that. I do think, one final 2 weeks of buildup of, oh, no, really? We have to slay that dragon? Oh, no.
Pretty good show lined up for you today. Gary Danielson will join us at 7 o'clock. David Samson, a little after 7:30. Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour for 2 segments. And Matt Baker to talk Gators and Noles also in the 8 o'clock hour on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com.
If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I think you're going to see a lot of that, Adam. There's a lot of bad offensive lines. And if you mean Omar from the Miami Herald, we've never had him on.
No, Jimmy, I think you were talking about Orlando from yesterday, and no. I wish, but no.
Once a month.
Did you send out a tweet?
No, I didn't. Shoot, that's what I forgot to do.
Yeah, Jimmy, trust me, we understand. We're not going to give anybody a hard time for confusing names and people at this hour. No, Adam, from what I saw, they made sure that Derrick Henry didn't get going. Actually, Omar Kelly left to go host and produce for I Am Athlete. It's a podcast, I Am Athlete Pod. I hope you don't take offense, Mark, at what I just tweeted. You sent out the tweet about, and I said, damn, that's our show? Wow.
Don't take offense to that. David, it's hard to. Come on. All right. You want to talk seating charts here for funerals, or where do you want to go? I mean, they really moved Meghan and Harry to the corner.
Go for it.
Did you know that the Buffalo Bills have 20 consecutive double-digit regular season wins?
Well, we said it last year, Felipe, how they lost 6 games in the regular season. When you look at they were top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense, and lost 6 games. That's tough to do.
Yeah, that Jaguars loss was tough.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Philly after the Eagles really toyed with the Vikings for the most part. Not the way the Bills toyed with the Titans, but, both home teams. It was a good week for home teams, Mark. Home teams went 11-5 straight up after going, I believe, 8-8 in week 1. You still made money, though, if you bet the underdogs on the week. They went 9-7 against the spread, although 0-2 last night. And 6 underdogs did win straight up. So, home teams, slight advantage so far this year. And dogs are doing pretty well, all in all. So far, first 2 weeks, you've been better off taking the points.
We did something before the show we don't very often do. We had show prep. I mean, we got some things done. We got our clutch play of the day already set. And I think we have a poll question because there are a lot of teams with lofty expectations who have put themselves in a pretty damn big hole early in this season. Who do you believe in out of the Bengals, the Raiders, the Titans, and the Colts?
Ooh, 4 winless teams.
Right.
Who all had winning records last year. 3 of them made the playoffs. I like it. Remember, they're all in the AFC, and we had pointed out that 13 of the 16 teams in the AFC will consider this season a disappointment if they don't make the playoffs. We thought the Jets, the Jags, and the Texans could all miss the playoffs, and their organizations, depending on how the seasons go, could still say, well, we got things accomplished this year. I mean, like if the Jags and Jets and for that matter, the Texans, they rattle off 7-8 wins. I think their organizations would be like, hey, we had a pretty good year.
It's an uptick. We're on our way. We made the next step.
Right.
And we don't believe in the Patriots or the Steelers, but we think the Patriots and the Steelers both believe in themselves.
Absolutely. That the other 13 teams in the AFC, they're like, if we miss the playoffs, this year's a failure. So I like it.
And it's getting late early for the Raiders, the Titans, and the Colts and the Bengals. It really and truly is.
Well, and by the way, week 3, Vegas and Tennessee play each other. Somebody's going to be 0-3. Huh. Remember that the Titans were the 1 seed in the AFC playoffs last year. And the Raiders lost to the Bengals on the final play of the game in regulation. They had a chance to win it there at the end. So, all right. Is that our poll question?
That's our poll question. It'll be up here shortly. I don't have time I didn't have time during the break because I erred in getting the show tweet out. So I had to do that. So one more break. We'll get the poll question up and be ready to go.
Great show lined up for you today. Gary Danielson, David Samson, both next hour. Pat Kirwan, Matt Baker, who's an AP voter and a Heisman voter. Talk a little Noles and Gators. Do you know the Gator line went from 10 to 11? They are like digging deep. They're almost archaeologists in Tennessee right now trying to find the last time the Vols were an 11-point favorite over the Gators. And you want to talk about scare a fan base. You know how we joked 2 weeks ago the Bills fan base was skittish about the expectations? Vols were like, wait, what? We're an 11-point favorite. Who? The Gators? Wait, what?
This isn't a MAC school here. This is an SEC game. We're not supposed to be favored by 11.
We've beaten them like twice in 15 years. Wait, what? 11? Not one, huh? Not 1.5? That's, huh? Yeah. So pressure on the Vols. Pressure on the Vols. And the Gators then apply a little bit more, maybe, hang close, maybe even take a second half lead at some point. Just come on.
Well, the Gators have a third down problem right now because they can't get off the field on defense when it's third down. They're not very good. They're, I think, like 117th in defensive efficiency on third down. That doesn't seem to be good when there's only about 130 some odd teams in Division I football.
Right.
That's not a very good stat. And they're around 80th in converting first downs on third down. Also, not seeming to be a bad stat. Against the Tennessee offense, it's really good, David.
Correct. And they run all those plays, and they do them quickly. There'll be very few huddles Saturday when Tennessee has the ball.
In fact, the Gators don't run a lot of plays. That's the other side. The Gators don't run any plays. They got to find some offense in this game. They've got to find some offense in this game. And I think it's running the football because I think they've got really good running backs, David. They've got to figure out a way to keep Tennessee off the field and run the damn ball. This is a Moulton game if you're the Gators.
Cool, because I hear Moulton's going to be at it. So that would be fantastic.
Well, I don't know if they'll play it that way, but that's how they need to play this game. This is a run the damn ball game if you're the Florida Gators.
So it's a Keyshawn Johnson game. Okay, good. Oh, no, that's throw me the damn ball. My bad. So we'll have Gary Danielson a little over half an hour. I'm sure the Gator game will come up considering he and Brad are broadcasting it. And if you missed that, Matt Baker in a couple hours, talk a little Gators and a little Noles. He voted for the Noles this week in his top 25. There weren't enough that agreed with him, but he put the Noles, I believe, in his top 25 this week. So there you have it. Very good show lined up for you today. So keep on listening here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's so funny how quickly things can change. Spits on Sports in our Twitch chat room. Gators have a quarterback problem. Hold on a second. 10 days ago, he was the winner of the Heisman. What happened? What's going on?
Well, that ended quickly. Couple of those passes against Kentucky may have put the brakes on the Heisman talk for Mr. Richardson there really quickly.
What's that old adage in football? I think Troy used it last night at the end of the game when he was talking about the Vikings and how, you're only a week away from being humbled. And, it's happened pretty quickly. But remember, so far this year, these are 3 of his 4 career starts. Even though he's been around the program now, this is year 3 around the program, he is a young, inexperienced player in a new system.
They will get better.
And they are 2-1. Trying to emphasize the positive, right?
Well, but I mean, you believe this team's going to continue. I mean, everybody I've improves, but you would think that the level of improvement for a team learning a new system with a quarterback with that talent, their ceiling is higher of where they can go with this team. And I love the way they can run the football. They've got 3 guys that can run the football.
I just hope they stay healthy. I would hate for this season to unravel just because of sheer numbers. They had one of those. They've had it happen a couple times last decade in which they just ran out of scholarship players, and they didn't start with a ton of capable players to begin with. So, and they have had, by the way, the toughest September schedule in the country because they will have played 3 ranked teams after this Saturday. No one else heading into October will have played 3 ranked teams. The Gators will have. This is obviously, though, their first trip away from the swamp.
And an 11-point dog against Tennessee on Saturday at 3:30 on CBS. Wow. If that's not motivation for the Gators, I don't know what will be in this game. But you can have all the motivation you want. you're going to have to stop the team from getting off the field. And Tennessee right now is putting up some points, and we'll have to find out whether or not the Gators defense can hang with this Tennessee offense.
Well, Heupel's already got an extension. I mean, that happened quickly. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, we see it all the time. It's like, oh, wait, did we give this guy an extension last year? Damn. Miller and Moulton. The starting five is next here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, except for the Bills, KW. Except for the Bills. That's pretty consistent. And the Dogs, for that matter. Actually, and I know they haven't played anybody, but Michigan, too. There's been some, at the top, there's still some consistency good.
No, Johnny Mack. Remember, he's a trains guy. He's an Amtrak guy. 50 years been taking the train. I'd rather get a Boots the Cat update. That's funny. I love the fact she shed a tear. She's getting trashed for it. Okay. The lady in the box is the only one in the family that apparently liked her. I could see where she'd be a little sad. Plus, her husband's crushed. That's the only person that was left in the family that likes him, too. I understand the Brits hate them, but it does bother me that they're not coming to his defense about the whole military uniform. He's the only one that served, for God's sakes. Okay, the others shouldn't be wearing it. He should. That bothers me. That's bullshit. And that'd be the same.
Yeah.
It'd be the same if it was this country or any country. Come on, man. I mean, he didn't have a desk job. Okay, guy did 2 tours in Afghanistan. And you won't let him wear a military uniform? Seriously? What the hell's wrong with you people? I don't care how pissed you are at him. Give me a break. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
That's good.
Well, JB, what I didn't understand about the Vikings yesterday was they didn't make a single defensive adjustment. They came out with their game plan, and the Eagles shredded it, and they didn't make a single change. Oh, one of the older ones? KW? All right. Then they can too. Yeah, right. Prince William served in the war. Right. I believe he served coffee to soldiers back at the base.
In Texas.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Gary Danielson coming up at the top of the hour. David Samson 1 hour from now. Pat Kirwan, Matt Baker, both in the 8 o'clock hour. Jam-packed show on this Tuesday, the 20th of September. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Poll question up.
It is up, David. Which winless team do you think will make the playoffs? The 0-2 Raiders, the 0-2 Bengals, the 0-2 Titans, or the 0-1-1 Colts?
You know, I don't even want to give the Colts credit for that tie. A, it happened against the Texans, and B, they've been so lousy, I'd almost want to take it back. Say, you know what? You guys deserve to be 0-2. So there. Tell you what, how close is that regime from getting blown up? I mean, if this season doesn't go well, 3 different quarterbacks, all veteran quarterbacks, Rivers, Wentz, and Ryan, same head coach, same general manager. I mean, at least 2 years ago, they made the playoffs before losing to the Bills. All right, let's do this.
The starting 5. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
It was 10-7 late first half, 17-7 at the half. And then, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs said, we got this. Allen threw 4 touchdowns, 3 of them to Diggs. Mark, sometimes the final score is indicative of just how not close the game was. Total yards in the Buffalo-Tennessee game, 414 to 187.
Wow.
187. Hello. Bills are 2-0. Titans are 0-2. 41-7 Buffalo. Their first Monday Night Football win since the Clinton administration. In fact, Newt Gingrich yet to be Speaker of the House. That's the last time the Bills had won on Monday night before last night. 1994, the answer to the trivia question. 41-7 Buffalo. Bills head to Miami Sunday. Hello.
You know, Tennessee got a third of those yards, too, on their opening drive.
When they
Tell you
scored,
how-
and they, right. Yeah. Hey, we're going to have a game. It's
Right.
7-7.
Right.
Right. Tennessee's hosting the Raiders. You know how many wins involved in that game so far this year?
Zip, zilch, nada?
There you go, Mark. There you go. The nightcap, which started just an hour and 15 minutes later. Everybody okay with that? Did it bother you? Did you like the fact that the two games are going on early? You could kind of go back and forth. You know, Buffalo started to blow out the first game. You could flip over to the other one and watch the Eagles begin to pull away from the Vikings. 24-7 Eagles. Jalen Hurts was pretty good, Mark. He threw for 323. He ran for 57 more. 3 touchdowns total, 1 passing, 2 rushing. Meanwhile, they blitzed Kirk Cousins, and he was something like 2 for 12 against the blitz. He threw 3 interceptions. Darius Slay, no joke, could have had 5 interceptions last night. 5. He ended up with 2. Could have had 5. Eagles are 2-0. One of 3 NFC teams at 2-0, right? Bucks, Eagles, and Giants. And nobody's taking that seriously. Minnesota falls to 1-1. Vikings host the Lions next week. Eagles head to Washington. Carson Wentz with a chance at revenge. I'm trying to think, did Wentz face the Eagles last year? I don't think he did. In Indianapolis, I think this is his first chance to, stick it to the man, so to speak. So 24-7 Eagles. Some other NFL news. They suspended Mike Evans for a game.
I told you they were going to. I told you this yesterday. You yelled at me. You mocked me. You told me there's no way that's going to happen. And I just took it.
I don't remember saying that. I remember saying I think it would be ridiculous if they did. Okay, but you were right. They suspended him for a game for his role in the melee. And I do think that qualifies as a melee.
That was a melee.
Yeah. He gets to appeal, by the way. One of 2 former players will hear the appeal. And unlike baseball, where you appeal in baseball, and they don't hear the appeal until you and your team travel through New York. So if New York's on the schedule next, your appeal gets heard in 3 days. If New York's not on the schedule for 2 months, you get to play. Until every now and then on an off day, they go, okay, you got to fly to New York. We got to hear this thing. But so Evans' appeal will be heard this week. If he's suspended, obviously, it'll be this week for their home game against Green Bay. By the way, the hammer dropped the hammer yesterday on Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay. Did you hear this punishment? 4 games suspension for violation of the league's personal conduct policy. See, Gay, I don't know what he did, but here's what he was accused of doing, Mark. Criminal property damage of less than $1,000. Got a 4-game suspension for that. Wow. I mean, he's not even going to jail. He's doing, the take a couple online classes, diversion program, that sort of deal. Everything goes away. This thing never happened. Not in the NFL, baby.
You're a misdemeanor.
He's going to miss a misdemeanor. That's as misdemeanor as misdemeanor.
But it's a misdemeanor.
Oh yeah, 4 games, man.
Technical training.
4 games. Wow. Hey, the Tigers hired a new Grand Poobah yesterday.
Yeah, they went to San Diego, got the Padres president of baseball operations. We'll see how that works out.
Well, close. San Francisco, right? He's 34.
I'm sorry, San Francisco.
He's 34. Scott Harris, he was technically their GM, even though he wasn't the one running the show. He basically was an assistant GM, but they gave him a fancy title to try to keep him as long as they could. He spent the last 3 years with the Giants. Before that, 7 with the Cubs, where he was an assistant GM, and he was part of the regime that did, win the World Series. Tigers' 4th worst record in baseball. So he's got some work to do. But, at least they won yesterday, though. We'll get to that. Rays lost to Houston, Mark. Astros clinched the West for the 5th time in 6 years. It turns out that the cheaters can play without cheating. Which, see, Houston and their fans gets mad at the rest of us because they're like, see, we're really good. We can play. And the rest of us are like, yeah, we knew you were really good and you could play. You didn't need to cheat, but you did. Hence, you're cheaters. By the way, the only
and you got caught. And you got caught because if anybody thinks it was just the Astros but they got caught.
Absolutely. And they were the most egregious at it. And it does need to be pointed out that the year you cheated and didn't get caught was the year you won the World Series. All the other years, you were good. You made the playoffs. One time you made the World Series, but you didn't win. We're just saying. 4-0 Houston over Tampa. Rays now a full game behind Toronto. They are the 5 seed right now, are the Rays in the American League playoffs. Seattle is the 6 seed, a half a game behind Tampa. Seattle 9-1 winners over the Angels. Carlos Santana with 2 homers for the Mariners. Well, you can put a fork in the Twins. Cleveland beat them 11-4. They're 7 back with like 15 to play. Mark, remember a little over a week ago we said, well, Twins and Guardians are going to play 8 times. Yeah, Cleveland went 7-1 in those 8. Thank you very much. Cleveland's got a 4-game lead over the White Sox with 15 to play. Magic number of 12 for the Guardians. Marlins in front of 8,315 last night beat the Cubs 10-3. Tigers shut out the Orioles, who are all but out of it. They are 5 games behind Seattle for the final playoff spot. 11-0 the final last night. Max Scherzer was perfect through 6 innings, and he had thrown just 69 pitches. So the Mets took him out. Now, I do need to point out he had been on the injured list for 2 weeks. He had a sore left side, and so they were being
all people. You better justify this. This is about winning a World Series. This is not about a perfect game in late September.
9 strikeouts, 68 pitches. Did I say he was perfect? But we didn't have a no-hitter. He was perfect. Okay, the Mets did clinch a playoff spot. They've been around and they played 61 years. Do you know how many times the Mets have now made the playoffs? 10. 10th playoff spot last night with the win. Brewers 2.5 games back of the Phillies for the final playoff spot in the National League. 7-2 Mets win. Braves with a 5-2 win over Washington. Kyle Wright is trying to steal the Cy Young away. He picked up his 19th win last night. He's going to be the only guy in the National League with 20. And the Braves won their 9th straight home game. I think they only have 5 more home games, though. But they won their 9th straight. Giants beat Colorado 10-7 and 10. Dodgers picked up their 102nd win of the season. 5-2 over Arizona. Their magic number for clinching the best overall record in baseball is 6. Scherzer's win, by the way, was the 200th of what most people believe will be a Hall of Fame career. One other baseball note, Mark, they released final payrolls yesterday. 6 teams are paying the tax, and there are 3-4 different levels of tax, but there are 6 teams that went over what is baseball's version of a cap, even though it's not a cap. Care to guess the 6?
2 New York teams
who are 1st and 3rd in payroll. Mets 1, Yankees 3.
Dodgers
2nd.
Phillies
4th. Nice job.
Padres
6th. Chance to win both showcases here.
I know.
Come on now.
Oh, boy.
I'll give you a hint. They're not going to make the playoffs.
I was figuring that, and I'm going to go Boston.
Double showcases. Nice. Now, see, 5 of the 6 teams right now would make the playoffs. So, needless to say, where do they have some splaining to do? Right, the team number 5. Paying the tax, and we're going to finish last? What? Excuse me.
And they're talking about tearing it all down, too. That's, I mean.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah. Finally, hey, Greg Norman's going to be on Capitol Hill this week. Apparently, the word's gotten to the LIV folks that the PGA Tour's apparently been lobbying Congress and saying some really bad things about them. And so you got congressmen and women on both sides of the aisle who are like, hey, what the heck are you guys doing? And so Norman said, tell you what, how about if I show up the week of the 19th, we'll go out to dinner, we'll talk, maybe we'll play around, and I'll tell you what we're all about and what we're doing. And besides, do you guys want to compare where you get your money to where we get ours? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll keep that to myself. I'll see you midweek.
I recommend he doesn't use that phrase during the dinner.
Right. Yes, I get it. I know Saudi Arabia. By the way, Congressman, you just, do we want to talk your votes on China? I'm sorry. Pass the string beans. Thank you. One final note about all this. Of all people,
string beans, huh?
String beans. String beans.
Okay.
Not green beans.
No. String beans.
No. It was said there was a point there. There really was. Of all people, Phil Mickelson came out in the last 48 hours and said, I really think the two sides need to get together and work things out. Okay. Now, I'm a Phil guy, but you got to admit that's rich.
That is rich.
And I mean like 200 million rich, but that's rich. Okay. Norman, for the record, was asked about it. And he said, quote, yeah, we have no desire to meet with the PGA Tour. And Greg said, now remember, for a year, I wanted to meet with the PGA Tour. I begged to meet with the PGA Tour. We were going to work this out. We were never going to play when they played anything of any importance. We were just going to 2 tours who could coexist. Golfers make more money. And the PGA Tour said, you're dead to us. We'll never know. And so Norman said, quote, I have no desire to meet with the PGA Tour. And when asked why, he said, because what we're doing is working. There are a lot of rumors in network television circles that LIV's got a deal for television next year.
Well, they had said they have 4 networks that they were talking to. And Norman not only said that he's not going to work with them, because he did say he tried to. Not only is what they're doing working, but he says the PGA Tour obviously is trying to put them out of business. So why would I want to talk with them? And on that alone, it's hard to not agree with what Greg Norman is saying.
Pass the string beans.
Pass the string beans. And that was the starting 5. We're Miller and Moulton. Gary Danielson coming up next, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I didn't realize you walked out. I put the graphic up and I had changed the SEC to B1G.
Ha 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 ha. Morning, Stumpy. How you doing?
Stumpy, did you get your Tua jersey yesterday?
Come on now, Stumpy. You got to admit, after last night, how many people are going to beat the Bills this year? I mean, they'll be bored once, right? Maybe twice.
God, I know they're not going to be bored this week. I'd love. Wouldn't it be great if Miami got them? Just the heat. Something happens, you know.
Well, I'll say this. It's not like that Bills secondary has been able to stop Tyreek the last few years. I mean, the Chiefs have pretty much done what they wanted to against the Bills defense. So,
I mean, the Bills do play Chiefs and the Packers.
well,
You got to remember, Thanksgiving in Detroit. That's funny.
no, Bray, you mean they'll be 0-2-1.
I like you going for the tie, though.
Yeah.
Trust me, I will, Paul.
But
I'll
not to loose. He won't pick them to loose.
Miami is loose. That's why I like Miami.
Right.
Especially Tootsies. But you know.
Hello. Is this on? So Donnybrook goes back to the 12th century. I don't know what.
Play, Felipe? Felipe, you got our play of the day?
I got it.
My man. Oh, we'll have a Dolphin week if it happens.
Oh, man. I don't care how many violations we have. We're playing the song Monday if the Dolphins win. I don't care how much stuff gets taken off YouTube and Twitch and violations. We're playing the song. Or we're at least finding the instrumental version, and I'll just sing it. I'll be in Jersey anyway. I'll be surrounded by White Castles.
Did you get any of this trip?
No.
David?
No.
Oh,
No.
did you get
But
a
I
cheesesteak
will.
yesterday?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I did. I got Chinese Sunday with my mom in Jersey. And on Sunday, when I fly into Jersey, I'll probably do White Castle coming from the airport. And then my mom and I will do Italian.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
1 hour in the books on this Tuesday. Terrific show lined up for you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And it begins with one of the oldest friends of the show, Gary Danielson, part of the SEC on CBS. And he joins us once again. Top of the morning to you, Gary. How are you?
Wait a second. Is it one of the friends of the show who's oldest, or one of the oldest friends of the show? Which way are you saying?
It's so funny. I was thinking this. I knew for a fact that's where you were going with that intro.
Play the tape back.
Old.
I said one of the oldest friends of the show.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where where you read it forward or backward. It's right in both directions.
All right, Mark, interview Gary. I'm done.
Well, I was going to say, Gary, welcome to Big Ten football. Just curious.
I know.
Just curious because you won't see a lot of it. What were your thoughts on Penn State?
I was so excited to do the game too, and you guys know me. I try to stay very calm. I figure my job is, I have a job. My job is to be calm, look at the action, explain what happened, react to great plays. But, there's a few, I've got a lot of great games. We do great games most every week. I've been fortunate for 17 years. But this one seemed really fun to do. I was really looking forward to a great game. I felt Penn State was a much better team. But, David and I and you guys have watched a lot of games at Jordan-Hare, and that home field advantage is pretty strong. But, boy, that was just a dismantling. I mean, that was embarrassing for the whole conference. I don't know if you ever watched the SEC shorts, but I made it this week, and it's satire, and you don't like to be the butt of jokes. Nobody does, but I have to admit it was pretty funny because it was about charging Penn State with murder, and the key witness was me, so they're throwing the case out. It won't work. Pretty damn good, I'll have to say. It was pretty damn good. So, hey, I think it's, this is not a good Auburn team. It's a really, I think, strong Penn State team. I think Auburn's going to, be second to last or last in the West. So they got it handed to them. And I think the Big Ten is relishing in this. But, hey, it's one game. The SEC has deserved the mantle of best conference right now. They've had it for the last 15 years. And until they're knocked off on the field, that's the way it's going to be in the future.
But it does set up, and we'll obviously get to the SEC. You've got Florida and Tennessee this Saturday, but it does set up, Penn State looked to be, what they were just a couple years ago when Franklin was winning 10, 11 games. And so you got Penn State, Michigan in 3 weeks at the Big House, and the winner then basically gets to stand there and say to Ohio State, okay, when do we get our shot? I mean, Penn State looked capable, if you know what I mean. They look top 10-ish, don't they?
Yes, they do. Their levels of play, they've got athletes all over the field. On defense, it really is hard to find a weakness. They've got 4 corners, including an NFL corner in Joey Porter. Their linebackers go about 6 deep with a superstar on the horizon who's really they're bringing in slowly. Abdul Carter, number 11, a true freshman. They don't give that number out as, it's like the Lions give it out 20. They make sure that a great player gets it. And their defensive line goes too deep with edge rushers after edge rusher after edge rusher. Offensive line looks good. Receivers are average, do above average with an important transfer. And, when you have a 6-year quarterback who's a good quarterback, I think a good enough quarterback to win a championship, because I've seen SEC quarterbacks, the Matt Flynn's, the Greg McElroys, who are good enough to win the championship with a strong team. And we have one right now with Stetson Bennett, who's a really outstanding college quarterback. And we don't always have to measure everybody's quarterback of how good they'll be versus Josh Allen in the NFL. It's a different game.
Gary, talk about Stetson Bennett for a little bit. He, off to a great start. I get all of that. But how much different of what you see this year? How much just the championship, the confidence, those things that were last year, it was always looking over your shoulder and when are they going to put someone else in? And this year it's his team. How different is that for a quarterback?
Mark, I think it's maybe besides the story of the upsets, with the Sun Belt upsets early and the great Appalachia State play and game day being there, that story, maybe the future of USC and UCLA and Texas, Oklahoma moving into the 2 major conferences and what they will happen. I think Stetson Bennett is the next best story in college football. And, I think there's a feeling around that he's a total walk-on that couldn't play. And no, this is a guy that could have gone to Troy or Appalachia State or one of those schools, but he believed he was good enough to play at Georgia, and he was right. He's being stereotyped because of his height that, he can't win at a major level. And that happens at these major schools when at one position, and especially quarterback, that you have in the mix out of the maybe 4 deep at quarterback, 3 of them are 5 stars and 1 is a walk-on. And I think it's only natural for when the offense, and remember a year ago, they were kind of playing to their defense. Why take chances because their defense was so good? Why let their quarterback lose a game? And there was the question marks about whether the transfer JT Daniels should come in. But as the season went along, you could see the team liked this guy. And Stetson Bennett gave them stuff that JT Daniels didn't. And their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, preferred Stetson Bennett. And it worked out. And now this year, he's become a weapon. And this version of this team, I don't know. You could say it a lot of ways. Might be better than last year's. We'll see. They got a lot of tests to go. But right now, they're more balanced than they were a year ago. And it looks like their defense is damn near as good as of a year ago.
Gary Danielson, part of the SEC on CBS. Saturday, they're in Knoxville. Both teams ranked. And the Vols, the biggest favorite they've been against the Gators since at least the 70s. Wow. From what you've seen on tape, you've been in the conference now a generation, and there have been a couple times in which it was, hey, is Tennessee back? And Butch had them close in 2015 and 2016. I think even one of those years he beat both Florida and Georgia and somehow didn't get to Atlanta. So from what you've seen on tape, how close is Tennessee to being, hey, they're good again?
They've been so good on offense that we haven't just really determined yet if they're good enough on defense to be all the way back. But there's so much juice and a better feeling top to bottom about the program that I think Josh Heupel is going to eventually be able to recruit enough defense to catch up to his outstanding offense. And right now, on offense, they're as good as anybody in the country. What is intriguing about this game, and you mentioned when I came to the league, and David, you were there along with me my first few games. One of the big surprises I had was watching Tennessee. Because remember, I did, so many years of Big Ten football and, kind of trotting around the country. Occasionally came and did an SEC game, a Florida State, a Florida game, here and there, a Georgia game, Georgia Tech. I was just surprised at the lack of talent and speed that Tennessee had when compared to Florida. Well, now it's flipped. I mean, I'm looking at this game. I mean, who would ever thought, like, going into this game with the reputation of Florida, that the passing team is Tennessee? I mean, they're ranked third in total offense, third in scoring offense, fifth in the country in pass offense. Those were the numbers that Florida used to bring to these games. And now you look at Florida, they're 96th in total offense, passing offense, 120th. A total flip between the two programs. When you go into this game, it's just hard to believe. And I did see that with game day there, the guest picker, I guess it's going to be Spurrier. How ironic is that?
Oh my goodness, that's something in Knoxville. The Gators, to me, Gary, the Gators are going to have to, and even though they don't have a lot of offensive plays, they're like third from the bottom in total offensive plays, but it's going to have to be that style. They're going to have to run the football. Do you think they can run it well enough to beat Tennessee?
Mark, I think you're right on. I don't think they have any other choice. I mean, they do need more. I mean, they're just going to have to take a big leap here and say, Anthony, I know it got ugly last year against Georgia. Now, you've had a few games since then, okay, and a whole spring practice. I don't think we can beat these guys without some kind of a passing attack. And I think they're just going to have to jump in and go, if the quarterback loses it, he loses it. But it seems to me, I watched about a half a game so far. Today will be a little bit more. Man, I mean, it's 2022 here, and it's Florida. It's a little different watching this as it unfolds. And, I think for Florida to have a chance, it's going to have to be a Tebow type performance by Anthony Richardson. A little bit of everything, or they're not going to score enough points, because this Tennessee offense is going to rack up points on almost anybody. They're just flat out wide open. They spread the field from sideline to sideline. Very interesting in a way, the way they run their back shoulder throws. We were always taught to give the quarterback a lot of space to the outside. They just line up wide and they do back shoulder throws with about a yard of space on the outside, and they almost dare the corner to be physical with them, because if you push them out of bounds, the receiver can come back in and catch it. So when you play them, your DBs are spread out. Your two corners are literally 50 yards apart from one side of the field to the other. The field's 53. The two corners are 50 yards apart.
He's Gary Danielson, part of the SEC on CBS. It'll be Gary. It'll be Brad Nessler. It'll be Jenny Dell. They'll be in Knoxville Saturday, the Gators and the Vols. Gary, as always, thanks for joining us.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Wouldn't be so bad with that calzada. I'm not done with you yet. Chief, what's up? Got him on the ropes. You gotta kick him loose. Kick him loose? Why? He's about to roll. DA's dropping the charges. Dropping the charges? Why? I got Gary Danielson ready to get on the stand tomorrow. You just answered your own question. No jury in the world would convict with Gary Danielson testimony. What about justice for Auburn? Hey, no one told them to hire a head coach from Idaho with no SEC experience while still maintaining their flawed booster system where the rich and powerful have undue influence over hiring choices of the athletic department. Hey, forget it, Jake. It's Tiger Town. This episode was brought to you by Renaissance Bank.
You answered your own question. That was funny. That SEC short. The SEC short. You answered your own question. And they go Chinatown? Huh. Got me.
Fakes the handoff, going to throw it. Looks downfield, fires downfield, looking for Diggs inside the 5, dives for it, makes the catch, and it is caught. Touchdown, Buffalo. Josh Allen to step up.
Is that Bill's radio network?
Touchdown, Bill.
I know you don't look at stupid stories, but did you happen to see the story in the Post about the band that was hired for the wedding reception? And it was basically the story goes, the guy's dating this girl, cheats on her. The woman that he cheats on her with, he ends up marrying. He hires a band for the nuptials, and she's the lead singer in the band, and he has no idea. And she does the whatever song they're doing, and midway breaks into the He's Cheating on You, Carrie Underwood song.
Oh, wow.
Right. And people are wondering now. I'm trying, like the story. Basically, people think it's so arranged that she did this on her own to help her singing career. That she never dated the guy. But we're trying to get to the bottom of it, David. Trying to get to the bottom of it.
And you clipped that interview separate so you can, are you going to do that at the end of the hour? Because we're running that Gary at 9.
I'll clip it once the hour's over.
Okay. I knew for a fact when you introduced Gary like that, that's exactly where he was going with that.
I had a feeling.
Okay, because I mean, you're doing that. I go, I just know Gary's snarkiness, and he is coming right back with that.
I was like, damn, you just called him old, low key. We're coming back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. David Samson to join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. 2 weeks and a day left in the baseball regular season. 2 weeks and a day. Only
We were so
one.
excited for all these races, David. You know, we thought we were going to have wild card races everywhere. We thought this was going to get really interesting coming down the stretch, and it doesn't look like we're going to get much of any of that.
We have 2 real races. Mets and Braves tied in the loss column. Winner will be the 2 seed in the National League playoffs. Loser will be the 4. And the Phillies have a 2.5 game lead on the Brewers for the final playoff spot in the American League. Otherwise, the wild card teams are playing for seeding. You know, who will be the 5, who will be the 6 in the National League, and who will be 4, 5, and 6 in the American League. And for those that don't pay attention, this year they changed it. It's 6 playoff teams and 3 division winners. First 2 get buys, 3 against 6, 4 against 5 in a best of 3. And the 4 seed and the 3 seed host all 3 potential games of the first round series. So bit of significance between who's the 4, who's the 5. If for no other reason, you get to bat last and your owner gets to make money.
Which is always important. As long as the owner's making money, everyone's happy. The only other thing out there is if somehow the White Sox could sweep the Guardians, they're playing 3 games this week. They're 4 back. But, I mean, to think that the White Sox could do anything positive for more than a day or 2 would be not paying attention to what's happened during the baseball season.
Yeah, give it up to the Guardians because it was a toss-up at the beginning of September. All 3 teams were within 2 games of one another, and Cleveland's just outplayed everybody. It's as simple as that. You know, that Francona guy can manage.
Yes, he can.
I don't know if people are aware of that.
And if the White Sox, you know, I mean, La Russa having the health problems, they've played better without La Russa than they did with him.
Yeah, I think everybody's taking note of that except maybe the owner. Right. David Samson in about 15 minutes. Some and all of this might come up. We're just saying, oh, yeah, Aaron Judge is this close, and my index finger and thumb are about 1.5 inches apart from winning the Triple Crown. This close in a contract year. Between Aaron Judge and Lamar Jackson, I just don't know who's going to get paid more in first. I really do. Probably Judge.
Our poll question today is, which winless team do you think will make the playoffs? And we left out the 2 NFC teams because I don't think anybody believes Carolina and Atlanta are playoff teams. But the Raiders, Bengals, and Titans all were, and the Colts had a winning record last year. Those are your 4 choices. I have not yet voted. I am staring at this trying to figure out if I want to click the Bengals or one of the AFC South teams.
I think I'm going to vote your Colts, and it's going to pain me to do so because I think it's possible, especially with the tie. 8-8-1 might win that division now for Indianapolis. Hell, 7-9-1 might be in play.
And we've pointed out that the Titans and Raiders play this week. One of those 2 teams is done for certain.
Nobody 0-2 made the playoffs last year, which is a little surprising because when it was a 16-game regular season, you would have on average of 1 0-2 team every year make the playoffs. So we add an extra game to the regular season and nobody able to overcome an 0-2 start. That was a little surprising.
And I think more of a quirk than anything else.
Although, let's be honest, how much enthusiasm is there in any of the 4 teams that we have up on the board here? I mean, this could be 2 years in a row. I mean, if we put none of the above as a voting option, I think it would have won the poll.
I do too. Here's the thing. The Bengals have looked awful, yet they went to overtime one week and lost basically at the gun the next week. Playing terrible football.
They're at the Jets this week.
The Colts and the Titans both play in a division, as you pointed out, that we think 9 can get it done. Now, the Raiders have a little bit more of a problem because we think they're playing in one of the best divisions in football.
If not the best. Right. So now they're reduced to, they're already 2 behind the Chiefs, for goodness sakes. They haven't even played them yet, have they? Raiders haven't lost to the Chiefs yet. So, and they're already 2 games behind them. So they're playing for one of the wild cards, and they're in a big hole.
Now, they haven't gotten the Chiefs each of the last 2 years, haven't they?
Yeah, I know. It was just, but yeah.
I know, but I just think that needs to be pointed out that as it goes for the Raiders, they've not had the same trouble with the Chiefs that the rest of the league's had.
No, and the Chargers actually have gotten the Chiefs each of the last 2 years also. It's Denver who hasn't beaten anybody.
And Denver, who already started out not looking all that good.
I'll tell you what, I got to give it to the Broncos fans. They have gone up a full level in my eyes, for whatever that's worth. When you are so frustrated with your own offense that you are counting down the play clock, not for the opponent to intimidate them, but to say to your team, 6, 5, 4, and you want to scream out, get your blank together. Right. Love it.
And that coach is struggling.
And he admitted it. I have to do a better job. Yeah, no kidding.
We know.
Right. Everybody.
We all know. I mean, you don't even have to tell the Broncos fan base that, because they have been well aware of it. The whole league is aware of what a buffoon you've looked like through 2 weeks.
Right. Vic Fangio is laughing as you know what off somewhere else.
He has to be clutch.
See, that was our key. You see what he did there?
Trying to give us a hint.
It was. It was a good hint. It's time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. We go last night where the Super Bowl champion parade in the paper team, the Buffalo Bills. It's already all over. There's no sense of watching the National Football League for the rest of the season because the Bills are champions. They came out in the second half and showed why.
Fakes the handoff, going to throw it. Looks downfield, fires downfield, looking for Diggs inside the 5, dives for it, makes the catch, and it is caught. Touchdown, Buffalo. Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. Touchdown, Bill.
The extra point would make it 24-7, and the Bills would never look back. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Simply the smoothest, most delicious vodka you will ever taste. Be on the lookout, Total Wine and Spirits, or go for the Dolphins watch party at Seaside in Bonita Springs, where they've got the Clutch Vodka Bloody Mary bar every Sunday. You won't even taste the vodka. It'll just be this spicy deliciousness because it's that smooth. Josh Allen's pretty smooth.
And if you're a corner, pretty spicy.
We'll see how clutch he is come January.
You know what was delicious Sunday? Okay. Tua to his wide receivers. That was spicy. That was delicious.
So good.
You know, we haven't had because of the dominance of the Patriots, when's the last time the Bills-Dolphins games meant this much? I know it's only week 3, but you got to go back a long time for both fan bases.
I'm not joking when I say this. The last time that a Bills-Dolphins game felt this big, 1992 AFC Championship game. Honestly, I mean, Shula's last game was a playoff loss in Buffalo. I mean, I don't know that they've had a game. And then shortly after that, You know, the Bills went down, the Dolphins went down, and they haven't played a lot of relevant games the last 25 years.
And the Bills open as a 5-point favorite in Miami Sunday at 1. Should be a hell of a game. David Samson, he's a hell of a guest. We'll talk some baseball with him coming up on the other side. In the 8 o'clock hour, we will talk with Pat Kirwan and Matt Baker. Where else but right here, Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is that a Venezuelan migrant
Go Raiders. We will probably frame it just the way you did. Pat, why do the Raiders suck?
I was going to say the same thing. If we don't do it on air, we will definitely do it during the commercial break when we have Pat in. Either way, we will get to your question.
Adam, the Giants are not playing good football. They're not. They've ham and egged it. The Panthers game was woeful. It really was. It was terrible football. They had a good second half at Tennessee. They did.
So, did you see the story, David, a guy that wielding the axe in the McDonald's in New York City?
I saw the video, yes.
Okay. All right. So The Post just put out a story. McDonald's Axeman speaks out. And the quote is, "My intentions were not to hurt anyone." KFC Barstool retweeted it. Actions, AXC, speak louder than words. That's really funny. That's well done. That's a good. That's funny.
Yep.
That's a quick pun right there. It made me smile.
Here's my question: how do you take an axe to a public place and get released on bail? Just, take a half hour. I mean, what the hell? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would seem to be. I'm sorry. What did he have? He brought an axe to a fast food restaurant. Huh. He would seem to be a threat to society at large. I think at the very least we should.
A little mental health evaluation, perhaps.
Right. I mean, 48 hours at least we can get a professional in here to ask him a few questions. See whether or not we have, wait for it, an axe murderer on our hands. Huh? See what I did there?
I did see that, KW. He was a Cowboys fan. He had his Dak Prescott jersey on.
David Samson's on hold. I know it's only week 2, but has the NFL figured out Derrick Henry?
No. They figured out the Titans offense.
Right. $30 seconds. All right, let's go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Pat Kirwan comes up at the top of the hour to talk all things NFL. Matt Baker, an AP top 25 voter and a Heisman voter, to talk many things college football, particularly from a Gators and Noles standpoint. He'll join us 1 hour from now. David Samson, kind enough to join us once again. He of the tremendous daily podcast called Nothing Personal with David Samson. He's also part of CBS Sports family, CBS Sports HQ on a regular basis. You can follow David on Twitter, David P. Samson, David, the letter P, Samson. David, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this again. How's your week been?
It's just another Tuesday. How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing great. Thanks again for your time. Listen, before we get into everything, I mean, when Cabrera won the Triple Crown, however many years ago it was now, a little more than a handful, I don't know when it was we thought we'd see another one. Goldschmidt's probably going to come up just short in all 3 major categories, but he's having an amazing season. But Aaron Judge, David, is like a base hit away from leading all 3 categories in the American League. I mean, this could go down as one of the, 10 greatest seasons if you want to go all the way back to when Ruth and Garrick put up some gaudy numbers. I mean, this would be an all-timer, wouldn't it?
Boy, that sounds like a little bit of recency bias, and I think we have to get into it. And I don't know how much time we have, but can we just talk for a minute about the Ohtani Judge MVP race?
Absolutely.
I'm losing my mind here because everyone is telling me that it's Judge unanimously in a landslide. Now, he's had a great year. He's bet on himself, and he's going to make a fortune because of that. Last year, I thought Guerrero should be the MVP in the American League, and I thought that he had a better year than Ohtani, because if you give it to Ohtani last year, that means you have to give it to him every year. And I assumed that Ohtani would not have a season ever again like last year. Except this year, Ohtani's had a better season. Ohtani is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's likely to get 200 strikeouts, and he's a top-of-the-order power hitter with over 30 home runs. And I'm building a team, which I did for a lot of years. I need at least 2, if not 3 people to do what Ohtani's doing. How does that not make him the most valuable player in baseball?
Well, I have to admit, I didn't bring up Judge for MVP. I was just saying that his offensive year was like, could be one of the 10 best of all time. But
I've been up for 4 hours thinking about this. I already recorded Nothing Personal this morning. I got a lot going on. I'm pacing in the room talking to you because I have a lot of surets right now because everyone is saying it's unanimous. And I agree that Judge has had a historic season. Is it a top 10 season of all time? Given the pressure he was under for turning down $213 million, that sort of ratchets it up a little bit. But top 10, I think we have to do a little more studying. All of that said, it's been amazing. And he could win the Triple Crown, and which would, since Cabrera, which I think was 2012 maybe. So it's just rare to see. So I get it. But MVP? Come on.
Well, now, David, just at most valuable player, if you take Judge off the Yankees, I don't know if they're still in first place. If you take Ohtani off the Angels, how much different are they than where they are right now, David?
I love that. And I love the debate about what MVP means. And one of the things that people go to, right, reflexively is, without that player, then what? And there's no question, without Aaron Judge, the Yankees offense would be worse than it is. And I agree. And they would have won fewer games. Ohtani on the Angels, he's won absolutely 0. Not one playoff game, nothing. As a matter of fact, they were eliminated yesterday. So I get that. But when I think about MVP, I spent, 16 years sitting next to Andre Dawson talking about his MVP year and how it came on a last place team with the Cubs. When the conversation is who's the best player in the game, it's not about what your team would be without him. The question for me always was, the MVP means who's the best player in the game. And how do you argue against someone who can do both? Here's the similar thing. If Tom Brady were an all-pro safety, do you agree that that would make him even more valuable?
David, we have said all year that we think Ohtani should be the highest paid player in baseball because he is at minimum, a $25 million a year pitcher and a $25 million a year hitter at minimum. So we have thought that when Ohtani hits free agency, that the first digit's going to be a 5. We agree with you. There's no one like him. And then if you want to say he's the best, he's the best. Now we get into the debate of the word valuable.
Valuable to me is how, okay, let me ask you this. How are you defining it? Is it simply what would the team be without that player?
Yes, that's how I am, David. And I think the award has, I love that you brought up Andre Dawson because there was a time in which it was simply the best player in baseball. I don't know when this changed, but then it became the best player on baseball with a winning team. And it's certainly that's where we're at now. At least it seems to me.
Wait, who won it last year? I thought it was Ohtani who won it last year.
He did.
Were they a winning team last year?
No.
I missed that?
Now, how about this? What if I come back at you and say Ohtani won it last year because he did something that hadn't been done since Babe Ruth? So what if I say I vote for Judge this year because he does something in theory? Let's just say he actually wins the batting title. He'll win the Triple Crown. He will have done something that only 2 players in the American League will have done in the last 50 years.
I think I have the solution. Do you remember the year in baseball? And I'm going to say it was 2001. Is it possible the year when Joe Torre brought the infield in, and Luis Gonzalez hit the flare for the Diamondbacks to win the World Series, that Schilling and Johnson were co-World Series MVPs?
Yes,
There's no
you're correct.
question I could be making it up.
No, you're right.
Then how about if Judge and Ohtani are co-MVPs?
Okay. I mean, I have to admit, I think ultimately, with elections need to, we need to have one vote more than the other. We don't send both to city council. Eventually, we only seat one.
I totally actually agree with you. There should not be co-MVPs.
What do you think Ohtani's going to get when he hits free agency, David?
So the question is, did he have an agreement in place when he signed? And that's something that I've talked a lot about on my show. When Ohtani came from Japan, there was a memo sent by Commissioner at the time who said, if any team is cutting a side deal with this player, we're going to find out about it and you're going to be punished greatly. The only thing you can offer Ohtani is the maximum you can offer allowable to a Japanese player with your international money. That was the year that the Yankees were collecting all the international money so they could offer him the most. He ended up going to the Angels. And inside baseball, we all thought that the Angels had cut a side deal and that they had him, his second contract was already agreed to. And that sort of, was manifested when Rob sent the memo to everybody. But if there's a deal already agreed to, was there a provision in the deal that allows Ohtani to say no to it, which would have made it like a player option deal almost, where if he ends up being great, he can say no to the deal he agreed to and get more? Or is it a deal that was pretty firm as a side letter, and then it could be a huge legal fight whether or not that is enforceable? Because Ohtani has clearly done more than anybody thought he would. Obviously, when you bring a player in, you want him to be Babe Ruth, but you don't expect him to be Babe Ruth, and you don't think that you'll get that lucky. So Ohtani on the free agent market, you're exactly right. When you're building a team, you can have more minimum players and give him more money because he's now proven over 2 years that he's going to be a two-way player and an all-star two-way player. So that's two spots I don't need to fill with two people. I fill him with one. So he's got to get more than Scherzer. He's got to get more than Judge. He's more valuable to a team financially than Aaron Judge for myriad reasons, including sponsorship that comes from Japan and all of the media that comes from Japan, and then the fact that he starts every 5 days and hits 2 or 3 in your lineup. So I think he will set the average annual value record, and he could easily set the notional value record and get more than Trout.
David, if you're running the Angels, do you totally and trade Trout as well, who I know has a no trade, so he could kind of dictate where he goes? And there's really only a half a dozen franchises who could probably afford either guy. But if you're running the Angels, Ohtani's entering his free agent year next year, and Trout's got to be miserable. Do you just tear it down?
No, because there's a new owner who's going to have tremendous depreciation and amortization, which means tremendous tax benefits, which means he'll have tremendous ability, will have tremendous ability to have a higher payroll, even though Artie spent plenty of money. But it's going to be a Steve Cohen-like situation where you'll see the Angels' payroll skyrocket because when new owners come in, they do have the benefit of those tax breaks that allows them to lose money in the beginning the way Steve Cohen is doing right now and paying the luxury tax bill that he's paying that was announced yesterday. He went over his own luxury tax threshold, which is sort of funny. It's named after him, and he went over it. So I think the Angels will have the payroll capacity to have Ohtani and Trout, and the new owner will think, let's keep them and let's make smarter signings with an increased payroll and be the first person to bring a winner to Anaheim, and then I'm going to be a hero. That's what I think the mentality will be.
David, I want to switch gears because you put out a tweet a couple of days ago when Tom Brady would have announced that Tom Brady was going to get Wednesdays off. And you said flat out, it's not going to work. Why?
I've been inside clubhouses, and no matter what anyone says, there is friction that happens because there are about 18 other players who have wives who are angry that their husbands are gone all during the season, and that they are professional athletes. They love sort of the benefits of it and the money, let's say, but they want to be there to pick up their own kids at school or to be there to do something. And when you let a veteran do something, take a look at Barry Bonds in San Francisco, right? Nary a ring. He had the biggest chair in the clubhouse, and I mean that literally. He had this big reclining chair in the clubhouse when everyone else had folding chairs, and it just breeds resentment. And in a clubhouse, what you're trying to avoid is that sort of resentment. And, you know, if you want to treat your superstar differently by making sure they have the best suite in the hotel, making sure that they have the seat they want on the team plane, making sure if there's certain food that they want in the food room, I'm going to make those accommodations. But giving a player a day off, and I thought it meant that he didn't have to put pads on, that he'd go to the ballpark, not the ballpark, he'd go to the stadium and he wouldn't have to practice with pads, but he'd show up. But what now I realize is that he's literally not going to be there. And Wednesday means something in football, as every day does. It's not a normal off day. So you're putting the game plan in, you're doing something. And I don't care that he's 45 and a veteran and the greatest of all time, which he is, all of those things. You can't create different rules for different people because inside the locker room there will be friction, and that eats away at you. And when it eats away, it causes the team to perform at a level lower than they should.
David, and we've got about 90 seconds left. Do you think football could potentially be different than baseball in this sense? The quarterback position is more valuable than any position in baseball, you could argue. And that team knows that without him, they can't win a championship. With him, they can. Okay, and it's tough to find that one player in that one position in baseball where that holds true.
I understand what you're saying. I do. I think it's more in basketball when one player can actually be the difference, right? I'm going to treat Michael Jordan differently maybe because he can be the difference in winning a title or not. Even with the best quarterback, you need to have a good defense, which, of course, the Buccaneers do. But you can also win a Super Bowl with a great defense and a terrible Peyton Manning. So I just don't know if what you're saying is right, but I totally understand why you're saying it. But even if that were the case, I wouldn't do it because when there is a problem in a clubhouse, it overrides all of that talent.
David, we enjoy these weekly segments. We hope you do as well. Thanks for doing this. And listen, lay off the coffee for the rest of the day. Try to take a nap. Stop the pacing.
Go run a marathon or something. You sound bored.
I have never had a cup of coffee in my life, by the way. Not one. And I am running a marathon this Sunday.
Well, there you go. Good luck.
Wow.
See you later. Goodbye.
David Samson, Nothing Personal is his daily podcast. Nothing Personal with David Samson, CBS Sports HQ. You can follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson. David, the letter P. Samson.
God, that bothers me. Go run a marathon. Well, I am on Sunday.
I think his hamstring has recovered. He says he hasn't trained much, but he's feeling physically good. He's worried about his endurance, however.
Miller and Moulton. Endurance is something we all need, but we do have Pat Kirwan. He is next on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, coaches poll has Michigan State ranked 21st, Washington ranked 24th.
Oh, there you go. Coaches poll. Once again.
Coaches poll.
And we're the idiots. Right. Yep.
I was I don't know if it looked that way, just the crowd shots they showed last night. There was a lot of Vikings jerseys. I mean, I was just surprised the amount of purple I saw. I always thought that was a good way to get your ass kicked in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, it didn't sound like there was a lot of
No.
Right. Right.
No. I mean, when you saw a crowd shot that there was 100 green jerseys and 5 purple ones. But I mean, it's like because they stand out. It's purple.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, you guys are. Yeah, exactly, bad golfer. That's exactly what it is. Not in the AP, not in the coaches. No, they're not. They will be after this week when they beat Michigan State. Because they should be able to score on Sparty. Sparty's defense is bad. God, I hope Wake Forest beats Clemson. By the way, that's where game day should have gone.
Yes.
Not Duke and whatever.
Yes. Well,
I know what you're saying, but I mean, no, they do, DC. There's no doubt. I mean, that's just gutsy wearing all that purple in Philadelphia. That's all I was really thinking. A&M's a 2.5-point favorite over Arkansas. Yeah, Minnesota's a 2.5-point favorite over Sparty. That's 3:30 ABC. Ugh. Oh, Big Ten Network. That's a little better, I was going to say. Although I would say, and David would probably agree with me, you're going to get a lot more crap wearing a divisional jersey to Philly than you are wearing a Vikings jersey to Philly.
yes. I mean, a Vikings fan walks past an Eagles fan goes, "That's cute."
Right. And I don't even, to me, David, I just see it. I'm like, that's fine in the stadium. That thing would be off my body when I walk to my car. I'm not going out with the mobs after a game when everybody's drunk wearing another team's jersey. And I'm not just saying in Philly. I don't know if I'm doing it anywhere anymore.
Well, and they are a little runk when they're heading to their cars.
That's
after
what I'm
the game.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
15 seconds calling now.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the 8 o'clock hour on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Matt Baker covers college football for the Tampa Bay Times. He's an AP top 25 voter and a Heisman voter. We'll talk a little Gators, Noles, and the rest of the top 25 coming up in a little less than 40 minutes time. But Tuesdays at this time mean Pat Kirwan, he of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us twice a week during the season because he's crazy and because he's sponsored by Pinchers. Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. How about that Sunday, Pat? Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Name the game. Was it? I said it yesterday. Was it a comeback or a collapse? Because you can look at all those games that were crazy. The Jet game, the Miami game, the Arizona game. Comeback or collapse? I mean, it was. I heard both versions of it from most of the fans. So it was a very exciting football. It was. No one wanted to leave the studio at 7:30 on Sunday night. There was too much action going on. So, yep, it was fun. It was great. I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like two games on Monday night. And I heard they're thinking of doing that 3 times next year. I'm not for that at all.
No, it seems like that is the consensus after the doubleheader last night. But let's start with the Dolphins and the Ravens, Pat. I'll just put your question right back at you. Was it a comeback or was it a collapse?
Because I picked them to go to the playoffs, I'll say it was a comeback. They had the 2 receivers. They're getting their money's worth out of Tyreek, obviously, and you got to give it to Tua. Now, you can look at the other side of it, which is why I was hesitant to answer, because their injuries are mounting up for Baltimore and all that. But I looked at it as a complete comeback. And they're pretty dangerous. This is the week coming up, though, that will tell the tale. Buffalo's coming to town.
Pat, now granted, his moniker in the Twitch chat room is Go Raiders. So you know where this is coming from. But he wanted us to ask you, and we're quoting, why do the Raiders suck?
Because they weren't very good, and the postseason/preseason hype that surrounded a new coach and a couple of new players, and all of it leads to the Raider conclusion that we've arrived. Now, I don't think they suck, personally. I don't know that you can trust them to win 12 games, but they got a good team. Now, they are 0-2, and we all know what 0-2 means. But look at the other guys. Cincinnati and Tennessee specifically, will one of those 3 teams bounce out of this thing? I would hope so, but my Raider experience with their fan base is that they are unrealistic at times. Maybe more the Cowboys are the most unrealistic, but the Raider fan tends to be, he thinks the world's cheating them. They think that they are better than everyone thinks, and then they turn out to be just what they are. So I don't know. The quarterback has got to do a couple things better, and you go out and you buy the receiver and he catches 2 balls, 7 targets. I don't know. I like the coach. I think he'll square it up.
Pat, what did the Browns let slip away on Sunday? Because that division, with the Ravens blowing the game the way they did against the Dolphins, with the Steeler team that I know you're higher on than most right now, the way that offense looks not very good, And the Browns had an opportunity here with Jacoby Brissett to get into the barn 2-0. To me, we're going to look back at that game, and it's going to be critical for Cleveland. But what happened to the Browns on Sunday?
Well, most people are pinning the defense for the collapse in that one. Certainly when Joe Flacco throws 4 touchdown passes, you don't have to really look past the Cleveland defense. But did anyone here think that Jacoby Brissett was leading them to the promised land? I didn't. I mean, I'm nervous as could be about that guy, and he's going to be out there for a long time. So he is what he is. He's been a professional backup. When Belichick gets rid of a quarterback right away, that should tell you something. And then he bounces around the league, and he lands up here, and he was only on the field because Watson was suspended. And that's what he is. He's not going to be able to drive a football team to domination. He's no Josh Allen by any means, so he's just a guy. J-A-G, just a guy. So that's part of it. And then, they're only going to be great and win when the defense is dominating and the running game can't be stopped. Those are the two things they have to have every week. When they don't have it, these kind of things happen. But this week it was defense, to me.
Pat Kirwan, moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL radio. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. And he joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. This is a tough one for all of us. And I've had some fun with Mark over the years. I'm a Titans guy. He's a Colts guy in terms of who's going to win that division. But Pat, we think the general manager for the Colts is good and has put together a good roster. We think the head coach is a good coach. We think Matt Ryan is still a good quarterback. They've only played 1 good quarter out of 8. They look lousy. I mean, at what point do we start not giving the benefit of the doubt to the folks in Indianapolis?
Now. They got shut out. And Jacksonville's shut them out, I think, 3 times in their history. And they can't go down there and win. And maybe it starts with the owner. Last year, the owner lost his marbles after the Jacksonville lost and got rid of Wentz. Last week, he lost his marbles over the kicker and got rid of the kicker. Now, I'm not saying those moves shouldn't have been made. What I will say is that when you know the owner upstairs is going to have an impulsive behavior like that, then you all fear for your job. You all wonder, is this the place I want to be? So I don't know how long the coach is going to last. I'm like Frank a lot. Know him, played for me. It was great having him on the football team. He had to play a lot when we had injuries. Man of integrity. You wouldn't want anyone else better in front of your football team, but they're not very good right now. And I think it starts at the very top. I mean, that guy, players sit around the locker room talking and wondering. You tell me, if you were on the Colts right now, with the 2 examples I gave you in the last 2 games, and you think things are bad, they can get worse, you got shut out. So the last 3 games, get rid of the quarterback, get rid of the kicker, get shut out. Ooh, I don't know what the owner's going to be like, this morning, tomorrow, everything else. And I picked them to win the division, so that's that for them. In regards to Tennessee, let's say this. If you can stop Henry, you stop the whole team. That's really what it comes down to. I think we all recognize that they're a very unique team. And when Henry gets stuffed, and by the way, I think we all agree that Buffalo is probably the best team in the league. We'll see next week.
There's no doubt there. And they lost the lineman early. That didn't help things for Tennessee in that game. But we've not yet brought up the Bucs. And the Bucs and the Saints and Tampa getting it done defensively. This defense is a top 5, top 3 defense. But Pat, that was, there were former Ravens saying that game looked like a Ravens-Steeler game from years ago. That was an old school football game. I have to think you loved the way that it was played.
Yeah, I wasn't excited about the mayhem on the field and then what happened with Big Mike getting suspended. I mean, he deserved to be suspended. But, yeah, I love the defensive part of it. There's a couple things I didn't like. Brady was going off on he was screaming and yelling at his players right out on the field in the huddle. I mean, okay, they turned around and they won. So there are those who are going to say, see, that's the leader. Well, you can't do that every day. You just can't scream at grown men every day. Oh, and then take Wednesdays off. They're going to think of Wednesdays as finally a day without him screaming in my face. So Tom is pushing the envelope as hard as he can. I respect that, but you can't be one of those yellers all the time. That's the first thing. What the heck is Bruce? I had Todd Bowles yesterday. I asked Todd, what was he doing on the field? And with a straight face, he said, well, the seats they gave him were too high up. Well, the seat that he took was too low down. I mean, and then he really should have been fined. Wasn't he part of the mayhem?
Well, he contributed to it. Yeah.
Yeah. He should be fined. And he should be told you're not allowed down there. He doesn't really have a title that would warrant his presence on the field. And I know Jason Todd, so Jason's always down there. I find that a little peculiar. How many GMs do you see on the field? None.
Pat,
Never. Would you think
Pat, we have 2 minutes
going on now.
We have 2 minutes before a hard break, but I want to get a little more into this. Okay, first off, do you think the Wednesday off thing is going to cause a problem between Brady and his teammates?
Well, no one told me yet. Maybe they told you, David or Mark. Is he going to be in the building on Wednesdays? Is he just not practicing? That happens all over the league. Or is he going to be off on Wednesdays? Do you know the answer to that question? Because I don't.
No.
If he's going to be off, that's a problem. If he's going to be resting and in the building and at the meetings, because Wednesday's install day, then it's no problem. Veterans all the time do that. But no one's identified what his status is. Where is he going to be?
Okay, I believe he's off for what it's worth, and we got about a minute left. Here's my theory, though. Pat, they can't win a Super Bowl without him, and they know it. I mean, they can get to the playoffs with Blaine Gabbert. They can't win a championship without it. So they're just going to grit their teeth. They know it's their last year with Tom, and they'll deal with it.
Well, they're not going to get to the Super Bowl this year either with them. So when the players get off on Sunday, if they win, usually Monday's players' day off. Tuesday is players' day off. So what is he doing on Sunday night? Jumping on a private plane and disappearing until Thursday morning? That can go on for just so long. You cannot lead the team from afar and then show up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then yell at the players on Sunday. I love Tom, but this has gone too far. If in fact he's not going to be visibly seen in the building Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. I'm sure they will be at One Buck Place trying to figure out whether Tom shows up. But I'm with David. I don't think he shows up, period. I think he's off on Wednesdays. That's why I think this came out the way that it did. He is Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS Sports, the NFL Today Show. He joins us weekly on Miller, twice a week on Miller Mode, Tuesdays and Fridays, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West, where you can't fake fresh. We're only halfway done with Pat. One more segment coming up. Your questions, you can text them in. 21,000 is the number if you have a question for Pat Kirwan. We'll get into more of last week's games and start looking ahead with Pat Kirwan next on Miller and Moulton. Where else but right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So Cole Beasley is on the practice squad for Tampa now, if you didn't already see that.
Beasley. He's a guy with a big mouth.
Yeah, there's no receivers left in Tampa right now.
Yeah. Hey, asked Todd if Julio was going to be ready this week. He said, we'll see. Which meant, like, no.
Who did you said Julio?
Yeah, I asked him. I said, without having Big Mike, you're going to need the other guy. And he said, well, we'll see. We'll see how practice goes. He didn't sound like very encouraged by it.
And Godwin won't be back either.
Nope. They rushed him back too fast.
Yes, they did.
Da, 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 da. And his line's terrible. More and more looks like Tom should have just stayed away this year.
That defense is legit, though, Pat.
Yeah. He's going to get hurt, though. He's going to get whacked. And then him trying to get into the rumble, someone should have punched him right in the mouth.
Well, Lattimore was about to. That's why Mike Evans got suspended.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Evans saying to the official, "It's Tom Brady. What am I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
Got a point.
For the pay he's going to lose.
Damn right.
Tom should write him that check.
Yeah.
Which will
I feel
get
bad
him.
for Todd Bowles. Bruce
Really?
Field. I feel bad for him because Bruce is treating him like his kid. And I said to Todd, I said, why was he down there? And I knew he'd already answered in the press conference. And he said, no. He said the seat was too high up for him to watch. Todd's a very clever guy. He can get his message across in very subtle ways.
I'd be handing Bruce that ticket envelope this week going, these seats should be good for you right here.
Yep.
That's right. And the league should not let him down there. Remember the Cleveland GM got in trouble for phoning down some ideas?
Yes.
He got suspended. The whole thing's crazy. Tom retires, Tom comes back. Bruce retires, Bruce is on the field. Bruce is on the field during the scrimmage coaching. The whole place is like, who's in? If you're an average player, who's in charge? Tom, Bruce, Todd, Jason, who? It's into a really strange place.
I think they come together at the end of the year, though, and they make it work. Because they can win it. With that defense, they can win it. With those wide receivers, they can win it.
Yeah. They're not preparing for victory here, David. They're preparing for dysfunction.
I understand, but they were 7-5 the year they won the Super Bowl. They can figure it out.
They were in total harmony then. They knew what they were doing. Tom had Gronk. Come on, there's a lot of things going on. It was all new. They were whatever it took. But Tom's acting. I want to know, is he on a plane now? He's doing his serious stuff on Monday. I get up at 6:30 on Monday nights. I love Tom. Oh, please.
That's funny.
He gets on a plane and disappears. Where's he going, to see the kids?
Legoland. Taking the kids to Legoland. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
15 seconds.
It's a good story.
Hold on. He's got to get the school lunches ready for the morning. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Another 10 minutes with Pat Kirwan, Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times to talk Gators and Noles and the rest of the college football scene in about 20 minutes' time. Pat rejoining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Got some Jags fans who are kind of excited about Trevor Lawrence, 25 of 30, 235, 2 touchdowns, very workmanlike. Okay, that just, now all of a sudden.
David froze up on us there, but I know he was asking about the Jags, Pat. Just your thoughts on that game and Trevor Lawrence's performance.
Well, let's start at the top. They got a professional Super Bowl winning coach who was a quarterback. That's a move they probably should have made the year before. They didn't. Okay, they overcame their mistakes, and now they've got Doug in there. And Doug knows how to run a pro football team. And he's very good with quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence is very talented. People were turning against him. They weren't really looking at the big picture of the dysfunctionality of the whole place. But now it's settled down. It's being run like an NFL team. Big James Robinson's back and running the ball the way he should. So things are going to move forward for them. In a division now that looks, I don't know, fairly dysfunctional. I'm not suggesting they're going to win it here, but they just shut out the team I thought was going to win the division. So maybe I ought to take a better look. I think the AFC quarterback list is gigantic. There's so many good ones. We've gone through it a million times. But the guys that have not been on that list that are now going to be thought of, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Mac Jones, throw those guys on the pile of great quarterbacks, and they're emerging. They're not all there yet, although Tua took a big step forward. But I'm a fan of Trevor Lawrence. Whenever I sat down with him, I enjoyed talking to him, and I like his weapons around him. They will be really pretty good by next year.
You mentioned Tua, and we talked a little bit about the Dolphins, but just that performance, reading some of the stuff after the game, McDaniel said to him, hey, it's that weight should be off your shoulders now. Do you think we see Tua play differently with that game? Do you think that's the type of confidence game that will change him? And I'm not saying it was bad before, but you know what I mean, that's the type of game where he can make the next step?
Well, everyone's going to expect the next step, Mark. There's no doubt about that. Now that they saw 6 touchdown passes, there are those who think he can do that all the time. We both know he can't. So his short-lived glory will end this week, most likely, with Buffalo coming to town. Can he match performance with Josh Allen? That's the next step for him. It's his division. It's the guy that everyone thinks is bringing a team to a Super Bowl. And now if he matches wits with him and production with him, then I think we've taken a very big step forward. That's the test. And he knows it. He's no dope. He knows that this is an every week thing until he gets to a Super Bowl, and then his credentials can go forward for him, where he's Tua. He took a team to a Super Bowl. He's great. He got a $100 million contract, whatever it's going to be. So he's not there yet. He's climbing a ladder. He took a big step. So he's got to take the next one, and it shows up right away.
Pat, how would you scheme against the Bills? I mean, the obvious thing is to say make them beat you running the ball, choose slow death over Josh Allen throwing 4 touchdowns on you. But mean, what do you do? The Dolphins have a pass rush. The Dolphins have better corners than most teams. But how do you scheme the Bills right now?
Well, I think I've been in many, many meetings like that, and this is the day, Tuesday, and they've been going at it since 6 this morning. So what's the first threat? Is it Josh Allen the thrower? Is it Josh Allen the runner? Is it the running game? My answer to that question is Josh Allen the thrower. So I'm playing coverage a lot more than I'm worried about the run. Every time you hand the ball off, I don't like seeing 5-yard gains, but I sure like them better than 15-yard receptions. So I think you have to prioritize how you're going to play. And what does that mean? It means, what are you doing on first down? Playing third down is pretty easy. Third and more than 2, everyone knows what the NFL is. But what are you doing on first down, and how do you break up second down? I'm playing the pass. And when I have people in coverage, I have more people that can run towards Allen when he takes off. So that's how I see them. I see the run game as the third priority. Now, coaches love to tell you other stuff all the time, but you tell me, you guys, Josh the thrower, Josh the runner, or the run game? What are you scared of most?
Oh, Josh the thrower. And I mean, Pat, I want him running the ball. I want to hit him as much as humanly possible. So every time he runs the ball and I know he's dangerous, to me, that gives my defense another opportunity to put a hit on him.
Right. And, he has a tremendous body and he's all this, that physically, but so did Cam Newton, and Cam broke down. This guy's a better thrower than Cam. And as I said last week on the show, 31-10, 6 minutes left in the game, and he's running 13 yards and diving forward. Forget it. So he's a maverick. He's going to do it anyway. He's going to be undisciplined in that area. So I think you've got to have, and the spy plan never works. It might work with him a little bit if you had a 2-man spy, one on each side. But the reality is they have a good defense. They actually can rush you with a 3-man rush, those guys. So I'd be considering a lot more coverage and try to get the game to the fourth quarter. That's the other problem. These games get away from, so far this year, they get away from people, and then they can't even be who they want to be. So how do you rope-a-dope it into the fourth quarter? I think you just keep playing the pass and hoping with Tua and the guys that you can stay in the game, and then going into the fourth quarter, it's 24-22, something like that. But 41-7, look at they're dominating people, and you're out of your game so fast it's not funny. And then you got to deal with the Buffalo defense, which is pretty good.
Well, and Pat, they have dominated the Dolphins. They haven't just beaten them. I mean, they have blown them out basically every time in the last 2+ seasons. And a couple of times when the Dolphins had an awful lot to play for. And even though on paper the Dolphins look as if they match up decently against Buffalo's offense, they have not slowed them down at all. Listen, is Pittsburgh
going to slow down Baltimore?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Is Pittsburgh going to find an offense?
Well, they got to find an offensive line, right? They haven't really done that. Najee Harris, who's really the heartbeat of the offense, is not going anywhere. I think people have figured this out. Not that they didn't. It took hard lesson to figure out, but Harris is going nowhere on the ground. He's under 3 yards a carry, I believe. And as long as that's going to be the way he's operating, they're not going anywhere. And no T.J. Watt, no sacks. That's really what happens there. We all thought Highsmith will step up. He didn't step up. So they're mediocre. I still like them to be competitive because they are tough. And there's things about them that can still be problematic for the Clevelands of the world. They got 5 interceptions, so they can turn the ball over with defense. They know how to do that. They're pretty physical on defense, so I like them there. And Cleveland doesn't have a lot of firepower. You know that our friend Chubb, I'm just getting ready to talk about him. The guy's got 100-yard game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think 8 tries. So if you can handle Chubb and put this game back in Jacoby Brissett's hands, you probably could win that game. But it'll be 17-14, 19-15, something like that. Neither one of these guys has the firepower. Now, maybe Cleveland starts getting Chubb going here. But the one thing that Pittsburgh's done is kind of keep Chubb intact, and I think they still have the ability to do part of that.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio Moving the Chain, CBS Sports, the NFL Today Show, and he comes to us courtesy of Pinchers. Pinchers from Tampa to Key West, where you can't fake fresh. Pat, we will talk to you on Friday. Have a good week, my friend.
Yeah, take care, fellas. Thank you very much.
Pat Kirwan. Twice a week on Miller and Moulton. Dolphins and Bills. He's already fired up for it. We're fired up for Matt Baker. We'll talk a little Gators and a little Noles next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I don't think he blasted Trevor last year, DC. I think he questioned whether or not he could play. I do think he questioned. I don't know if it was blasted. I think because he was blasting Urban most of the year last year. He never liked that experiment, ever.
DC, Pat didn't say that at all last year about Trevor. He said that he was struggling, and he said that they were a mess. But
yeah, I was just saying he blasted Urban, not Trevor.
Yeah. And he blasted, he didn't think that the organization was doing Trevor any justice last year.
Now, those of you that are in here for 4 hours are going to freak out, but we're replaying the Danielson interview at 9 because the certain half of the show's got to catch a flight. So now you're on the inside here in the Twitch chat room. So we're going to replay Gary at 9, and then I'll finish the show, and David's got to catch a flight. It's probably the one time it'll happen this year.
Yeah. If I don't get on the late morning flight, I won't get home till really late. And I just didn't want to do that. Sorry.
Now, are you taking the same flight back next week?
Well, I'll be in Jersey next week, so I can take a 2:00 flight.
Oh, you take a Newark flight then?
No.
Mark, I scratched my back and I think I'm bleeding. Can you tell me?
Should be able to see it on the shirt.
Maybe. It's because you popped something there.
Yeah.
Get off the juice.
Gross.
That'll be next week, Jake.
Robert Griffin may have the tightest hairdo on God's green earth. I like him as a color analyst for the record. He's really good.
Yes, he is.
I'm telling you that I still, when he's down in the Michigan tunnel and then runs up the stairs and his broadcast, bro, you're not even sweating. And they show this thing, he's glistening. I mean, he's not. So he is just sweating like a pig. I mean, and I can relate. And I'm laughing, and he starts wiping his head. I don't know if I've laughed that hard watching a broadcast in a long time. That was just funny stuff. How psyched are you for Dallas versus the G-Men, David?
Woo.
Hey, I just like the fact that the flights are easy. They're direct. Get a chance to see Mom again.
You're an old pro now. Just happy the flights are direct.
This is the first.
I'm back in 15.
This is the first time doing NFL that the Giants will have a better record than their opponent that I've done one of their games.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Our poll question today, we're 2 weeks in to the NFL season. And we got some winless teams that were not supposed to be winless. We got Cincinnati, we got Tennessee, we got Vegas, we got the Colts. Now, we also have Carolina and Atlanta, but we don't think they're contenders. The other four are supposed to be contenders, at least for the playoffs. So of those four, Bengals, Raiders, Titans, and Colts, which one do you think digs themselves out of this and makes the playoffs?
Right now, the Bengals getting 43% of the vote. The Colts are getting 27% of the vote. The Raiders 16%, and the Titans getting the remaining portions of the vote. You can go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter to answer, or floridasportsnetwork.com for that matter, to answer today's question.
Well, he's an AP Top 25 voter. He's a Heisman voter, and he covers college football for the Tampa Bay Times. He is Matt Baker, and he's kind enough to join us once again. You can follow Matt on Twitter, MBakerTBTimes, MBakerTBTimes. Matt, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. It's been a few weeks. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it is our pleasure, and we mean it. First off, let's talk Noles. That was as gutty and as gritty a win. You lose your quarterback, you lose your left tackle, you lose your best defensive player, you lose another starter, you're trailing most of the way, you're on the road. I mean, Matt, we don't think the Noles are a 9-10 win team, and we're worried about attrition. But, Matt, that to me was the type of game that shows the culture in Tallahassee is different.
Oh, no question. That's a game that they would have lost last year. And I can tell you that because we saw it last year, right? Where you look at how they played against Louisville, where, and honestly, the Louisville game last year might have been kind of the start of the turnaround, where they were awful for the first half. And then they came back and they made it a competitive game and had a chance to, tie it or get the win there at the end. And that kind of started to show the fight and that things are different. And then you kind of go and look at, obviously, the 4th and 14 against Miami. And there's just been kind of some baby steps along the way. But look at just the way they struggled last year in close games. And it wasn't impressive early. And then they started to turn a corner. And then the way they, like you said, the way they did it the other night with Tate Rodemaker, believe me, I was on Twitter during the game, and FSU fans and even some reporters like, this isn't going to happen with him. I don't know why they're not going to AJ Duffy. Then he balls out and they win. And just to me, it spoke to, like you said, the culture of everybody kind of buying in. It spoke to Norvell as a talent evaluator and a deployer of skill, where you look at the way he used some of the transfers, Mike Pittman, obviously Johnny Wilson at receiver as well. And it just kind of all came together in front of our eyes on Friday night at Louisville. And you said you don't know that FSU is not a 9 or 10 win team. I don't think 10 wins, but right now, with the way they're playing, then the way the rest of the league and the rest of the country looks, they can win 9. I'm not saying it'll happen, but they absolutely could. That's within the realm of possibility.
What are you hearing about Jordan Travis? Is he going to be back this week, Matt?
My gut tells me yes. Mike Norvell was very shifty yesterday. There's not too much of a negative word. Evasive. He didn't. He said, "Yeah, we were encouraged by what we're hearing, and they'll be evaluated." So what does that mean? I don't know. But my gut tells me he'll be back. And honestly, they might not need him against Boston College. And even that speaks to growth in the program, right? Because the past couple of years, beating Boston College has not been a given. But I think where FSU is now, from a scheme standpoint, depth, talent, everything else, I think they should have no problem with Boston College. And then it gets real again the week after against the top 25 Wake Forest team.
Matt, before we get to the Gators, just quickly on the Canes, nobody this century's had 27 first downs in a game and not scored a touchdown. They gained like 150 more yards. They ran over 24 more plays. If you're a Canes fan, obviously you're disappointed, but is there a silver lining with the loss or no?
I am competitive at one of the top environments in the country against a really talented team led by a national championship coach. If you want to take moral victories from that, but really, no, I don't think so. Texas A&M has a ton of talent, but look, they just lost to Appalachian State. It's not like this is an elite Aggies team, and it's not like Jimbo Fisher lately has been an elite level coach. He hasn't been. His teams have been good for one just clunker just about every year since 2014, starting with the Rose Bowl against Oregon. So yeah, it was a very disappointing performance. I think there's a gap right now in Miami's long-term potential under Mario, because he is a really good recruiter. He's doing the right stuff kind of off the field. And where they are on the field, and look, they were up 10-7 at halftime against Southern Miss, right? And yes, they pulled away and did what they were supposed to do, but it's not quite showing up yet. And I would have hired Mario in a heartbeat. He would have been my pick at Florida too. But he had some issues at Oregon in terms of game management and game day decisions. And I think we've already kind of seen some of that at Miami. And that's something that if the Canes are ever going to be back, whatever that means, that's something they're going to have to fix.
All right, the Gators. They won, but South Florida was able to run the ball on them. I mean, we weren't the 24-point favorite in the game's 3-point game. Let's talk on the defensive side of the ball. Why was South Florida so able to be effective against a Gator defense that just physically should be able to dominate?
So a couple things. One is the absence of Ventrell Miller at linebacker. Last year, when he had the arm injury, there was a definite shift from the games he played to when they dropped off a cliff afterward. And so his absence is big. You cannot discount that at all. Yes, Florida should be able to replace one linebacker. They should. But where they are right now, they don't have another Ventrell Miller that they can plug in. So that's an enormous hole at the middle of the defense. The other thing is I do think you have to give USF a lot of credit. They had some creative stuff. They had some things that the Gators hadn't seen before on film. And I also think the Gators, when you look at the way they played the first couple games, they were susceptible to some misdirection stuff. Everything looks like it's going right and the quarterback rolls left, or everything looks like it's going left and the tight end flips from left to right. Like, they were susceptible to some of that stuff, maybe being a little bit too aggressive, and then they're burned on the backside. And USF was able to take advantage of that as well. And I still don't quite have a good read on how good this Gators defense is, because I thought it did pretty well against Utah, all things considered, except for the tight ends, but Utah's got really good tight ends. Before wearing down in the second half. Kentucky, I thought, that was a good performance by the defense, all things considered. And then USF was not. So I don't have a good read on how good this defense is yet, but I will tell you, I'm going to find out Saturday in Knoxville, because if this Florida defense isn't a lot better, they will get run or thrown all over the place by Josh Heupel and the Vols.
Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times. You can follow Matt on Twitter, MBakerTBTimes, MBakerTBTimes. Well, and how much should we, and we're not one to give teams a pass, but how about a partial one here? The Gators are playing the toughest schedule in the country in September. No other school is going to play 3 ranked teams in the month of September. Is it possible with a team that doesn't have a ton of depth that even this early in the season, the Gators are already starting to get worn down?
Maybe a little bit, because if I'm looking at the issues with this Gators team, depth is definitely one, particularly depth at the defensive line. There's not, other than Bama and Georgia and maybe a couple others, there's not a lot of teams in the country that really feel good about D-line depth. It's just something you can't stock enough of. So maybe there's some of that. I mean, Utah is a team, they are big and physical. They are always big and physical. They can beat you, and then they can beat you the next week too, because you guys are going to be bruised afterward. Kentucky under Mark Stoops has had good bruising offensive lines, although this year I don't think it's quite as good. So maybe there's a little bit of that. And adding in the fact that Mullen didn't recruit at an elite level, which, the ones at Florida are fine, but then you've got issues with the 2s and the 3s. And Napier's more or less said that in the spring and the offseason. So, maybe there's a little bit of an issue with that, but it's Florida. That shouldn't be the issue. And they are playing a really tough schedule. 3 top 20 teams. That's a challenge. But the Gators are a top 20 team and should be.
The offense hasn't been very good on third down. Is that just a Richardson thing? Is that just a matter of learning? It's a new offense. It's a new system. Is this just a matter of everything being in sync? Or do you see deeper problems with their offense right now, Matt?
I'm not sure yet. There's something going on with the passing game. I think, I had one of my biggest questions going into the year was that the receivers did not seem to be particularly good. They were fine, but there wasn't a game breaker. There wasn't a Tony. There wasn't a Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I know those guys don't grow on trees, but there wasn't anybody that really scared me at receiver if I were an opposing defense. And through 3 games, there hasn't been. So some of it's the receivers, but there's something up with Anthony too. Some of it could be, look, he's got his 3rd quarterback coach in 3 years, right? So like the throw he had, the interception, and deep in his own part of the field against Kentucky, he said, I didn't get deep enough on the bootleg. Well, maybe that's because what he learned under Mullen is a little bit different than Napier. So there's a little bit in his head. I think he's probably thinking too much, and he kind of more or less said that. And again, that's a product of 3 different quarterback coaches in 3 years, new system, all that stuff. And then I also think the Gators are being very careful with him in terms of, look, they don't have depth at quarterback. Jack Miller, the blue chip recruit from transfer from Ohio State, he's out. And behind him, it's Kitna, who hasn't played, and a guy who was a walk-on. So they cannot afford an injury to Anthony Richardson. Therefore, they're I guess being careful or limiting what he can do with his legs, which is by far his best asset. And so I think he's in a little bit in his own head in terms of, okay, well, maybe I could tuck and run here, but no, I can't do that because I could get hurt. So I need to throw, and then you're a little late, and all that type of stuff. So I don't know I think it's a confluence of problems here that leads the Gators where they are. Like you said, not great on third down. They have 0 passing touchdowns. The University of Florida has 0 passing touchdowns a quarter of the way through the season. That's ridiculous. But the last time that happened was 2013 with Tyler Murphy, where they had 3 games in a row without a passing touchdown. So that's a stunning stat that tells me that there's some issues with this offense right now, and I think there's a bunch of reasons why. But look, they got to figure it out fast because the Vols have a high-scoring team. I think that Tennessee is going to score a lot of points, and if Florida's going to have a chance, they're going to have to be in a track meet and have to score to keep up, and we haven't seen them do that yet.
Matt, we only have 2 minutes left, but this does seem to be a bad matchup at a bad time for the Gators, like you mentioned. Florida's run defense is suspect. Tennessee can run it. They can throw it. They're going to score points. And the Gators right now are one-dimensional on offense. I mean, Tennessee an 11-point favorite, but the more you look at it, they seem to clearly be better.
Yeah, this is, as you said, this is a tough matchup for the Gators. And playing in Knoxville, too. I was at the game in 2016 where Florida had won $1 billion in a row against Tennessee, and that was Tennessee's kind of like, hey, we're back. That was their game. That was their moment. So it's going to be a very, very tough environment and a matchup that does not favor the Gators. I'm hoping it's just personally, I would like to see a competitive game, and I think it will be. But look, Florida's going to have to fix some stuff fast on offense, on defense, and they're going to have to find a way to make a special teams play as well.
He's Matt Baker. He covers college football for the Tampa Bay Times. You can follow Matt on Twitter, MBakerTBTimes, MBakerTBTimes. Matt, safe travels. Thanks so much for your time, and hopefully we can do this again next month.
You got it. Thanks, man.
Matt Baker, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. An 11-point favorite is Tennessee. You got to go back to at least the 70s. In the last 25 years, the Vols have only been favored 4 times against Florida. In 25 years, 4 times they've been favored. That's it. Gators have won, 16 of 17 against Tennessee? I mean, it's amazing. 2016 is the only time that Tennessee has won this game since like 2004.
11 points, though.
Whew.
That's got to be, that's got to be one of those yesterday when Gator fan got up and looked at the line, they got angry.
Well, just to let you know, it was 10 yesterday. It's 11 today.
So the money early poured in on the Vols at 10.
Right.
To adjust that one more. Holy cow.
Well, we'll find out. We said 2-2 after September. Problem is for Gator fan, if the 2 in the right-hand column are both SEC games, oh boy.
Unbelievably difficult schedule, and so far the Gators, well, a great win against Utah, but losing against Kentucky and now Tennessee on the other side. We talked to Gary Danielson this morning at 7 a.m. We're going to replay that interview on the other side. Gary Danielson from CBS Sports is next on Miller and Moulton. We thank you so much for listening right here. Where else but the Florida Sports Network?
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So what time is David's flight?
I don't know. Like
just have to
10:30
leave?
or something like that. So he's got to get to the airport. It's happening once this year. It's not the
Yeah. Who's John Kitna?
John Kitna was a quarterback for many a year in the league. Played for the Bengals mostly. That's where I remember him at. Backup. I think started for the Bengals for a while.
Oh, Logic Man. Got a little pep in your step today, huh? I think it will be remembered for a while, like a really long time, that Tua and Jalen Hurts were teammates. Like we're in the same quarterback room.
I think the interesting question is which one's going to be a better NFL quarterback.
Right. Because, I mean, although it seems Hurts is better, I think they're at the same level.
I think Tua throws the ball better than Hurts.
Right, but Hurts is a better runner and Hurts is bigger, you know? But yeah, Tua, I think, has a better sense of the game.
I got to go Chiefs next week.
Were they playing Colts?
Yeah, for Suicide League.
Oh, yeah.
Either that or the Chargers. I might go Chargers. I'll probably do Chargers in one, Chiefs in the other, because I'm in two now.
Who are the Chargers playing?
The Jags. Home. What in the hell?
Oh, what?
Why do people do...
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a Bills fan getting poured with mustard and ketchup. Look at his beard.
So gross.
Oh, my God. Oh, look at the cores.
These fans are insane.
Did you see the tweet that guy tweeted that the United States just simply does not have the infrastructure to withstand a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl? That's the truest statement I've ever heard. Oh, God.
Johnny, I'm with you, by the way. They have to this week, because if not, they're in big trouble.
Malik Willis was playing football last night. Let's go.
All right, you're all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
I have a job. My job is to be calm, look at the action, explain what happened, react to great plays. But, there's a few. I've got a lot of great games. We do great games most every week. I've been fortunate for 17 years. But this one seemed really fun to do. I was really looking forward to a great game. I felt Penn State was a much better team. But, David and I and you guys have watched a lot of games at Jordan Hare, and that home field advantage is pretty strong. But boy, that was just a dismantling. I mean, that was embarrassing for the whole conference. I don't know if you ever watched the SEC shorts, but I made it this week, and it's satire, and you don't like to be the butt of jokes. Nobody does, but I have to admit it was pretty funny because it was about charging Penn State with murder, and the key witness was me. So they're throwing the case out. It won't work. Basically, with the solve. Pretty damn good, I'll have to say. It was pretty damn good. So, hey, I think it's, this is not a good Auburn team. It's a really, I think, strong Penn State team. I think Auburn's going to, be second to last or last in the West. So they got it handed to them. And I think the Big Ten is relishing in this. But, hey, it's one game. The SEC has deserved the mantle of best conference right now. And they've had it for the last 15 years. And until they're knocked off on the field, that's the way it's going to be in the future.
But it does set up, and we'll obviously get to the SEC. You've got Florida and Tennessee this Saturday, but it does set up, Penn State looks to be, what they were just a couple of years ago when Franklin was winning 10, 11 games. And so you got Penn State, Michigan in 3 weeks at the Big House, and the winner then basically gets to stand there and say to Ohio State, okay, when do we get our shot? I mean, Penn State looks capable, if you know what I mean. They look top 10-ish, don't they?
Yes, they do. Their levels of play, they've got athletes all over the field. on defense, it really is hard to find a weakness. They've got 4 corners, including an NFL corner in Joey Porter. Their linebackers go about 6 deep with a superstar on the horizon who's really they're bringing in slowly. Abdul Carter, number 11, a true freshman. They don't give that number out. As you know, it's like the Lions give it out 20. They make sure that a great player gets it. And their defensive line goes too deep with edge rushers after edge rusher after edge rusher. Offensive line looks good. Receivers are average, to above average with an important transfer. And, you know, when you have a 6-year quarterback who's a good quarterback, I think a good enough quarterback to win a championship, because I've seen SEC quarterbacks, the Matt Flynn's, the Greg McElroys, who are good enough to win the championship with a strong team. And we have one right now with Stetson Bennett, who's a really outstanding college quarterback. And we don't always have to measure everybody's quarterback of how good they'll be versus Josh Allen in the NFL. It's a different game.
Gary, talk about Stetson Bennett for a little bit. Off to a great start. I get all of that. But how much different of what you see this year? How much just the championship, the confidence, those things that were last year, it was always looking over your shoulder and when are they going to put someone else in? And this year it's his team. How different is that for a quarterback?
Mark, I think it's maybe besides the story of the upsets, with the Sun Belt upsets early and the great Appalachia State play and game day being there, that story, maybe the future of USC and UCLA and Texas, Oklahoma moving into the 2 major conferences or what they will happen. I think Stetson Bennett is the next best story in college football. And, I think there's a feeling around that he's a total walk-on that couldn't play. And no, this is a guy that could have gone to Troy or Appalachia State or one of those schools, but he believed he was good enough to play at Georgia. And he was right. He's being stereotyped because of his height that, he can't win at a major level. And that happens at these major schools when at one position, and especially quarterback, that you have in the mix out of the maybe 4 deep at quarterback, 3 of them are 5 stars and 1 is a walk-on. And I think it's only natural for when the offense, and remember a year ago, they were kind of playing to their defense. Why take chances because their defense was so good? Why let their quarterback lose a game? And there was the question marks about whether the transfer JT Daniels should come in. But as the season went along, you could see the team liked this guy. And Stetson Bennett gave them stuff that JT Daniels didn't. And their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, preferred Stetson Bennett. And it worked out. And now this year, he's become a weapon. And this version of this team, I don't know. You could say in a lot of ways might be better than last year's. We'll see. They got a lot of tests to go. But right now, they're more balanced than they were a year ago. And it looks like their defense is damn near as good as of a year ago.
Gary Danielson, part of the SEC on CBS. Saturday, they're in Knoxville. Both teams ranked. And the Vols, the biggest favorite they've been against the Gators since at least the 70s. Wow. From what you've seen on tape, you've been in the conference now a generation, and there have been a couple times in which it was, hey, is Tennessee back? And Butch had them close in 2015 and 2016. I think even one of those years he beat both Florida and Georgia and somehow didn't get to Atlanta. So from what you've seen on tape, how close is Tennessee to being, hey, they're good again?
They've been so good on offense that we haven't just really determined yet if they're good enough on defense to be all the way back. But there's so much juice and a better feeling top to bottom about the program that I think Josh Heupel is going to eventually be able to recruit enough defense to catch up to his outstanding offense. And right now on offense, they're as good as anybody in the country. What is intriguing about this game, and you mentioned when I came to the league, And David, you were there along with me my first few games. One of the big surprises I had was watching Tennessee. Because remember, I did, so many years of Big Ten football and, kind of trotting around the country. Occasionally came and did an SEC game, a Florida State, a Florida game, here and there, a Georgia game, Georgia Tech. I was just surprised at the lack of talent and speed that Tennessee had when compared to Florida. Well, now it's flipped. I mean, I'm looking at this game. I mean, who would ever thought, like, going into this game with the reputation of Florida, that the passing team is Tennessee? I mean, they're ranked third in total offense, third in scoring offense, fifth in the country in pass offense. Those were the numbers that Florida used to bring to these games. And now you look at Florida, they're 96th in total offense, passing offense, 120th. A total flip between the two programs. When you go into this game, it's just hard to believe. And I did see that with game day, they're the guest picker. I guess it's going to be Spurrier. How ironic is that?
Oh my goodness, that's something in Knoxville. The Gators, to me, Gary, the Gators are going to have to, and even though they don't have a lot of offensive plays, they're like third from the bottom in total offensive plays, but it's going to have to be that style. They're going to have to run the football. Do you think they can run it well enough to beat Tennessee?
Mark, I think you're right on. I don't think they have any other choice. I mean, they do need more. I mean, they're just going to have to take a big leap here and say, Anthony, I know it got ugly last year against Georgia. Now, you've had a few games since then, okay, and a whole spring practice. I don't think we can beat these guys without some kind of a passing attack. And I think they're just going to have to jump in and go, if the quarterback loses it, he loses it. But it seems to me, I watched about a half a game so far. Today will be a little bit more. Man, I mean, it's 2022 here, and it's Florida. It's a little different watching this as it unfolds. And, I think for Florida to have a chance, it's going to have to be a Tebow type performance by Anthony Richardson. A little bit of everything, or they're not going to score enough points, because this Tennessee offense is going to rack up points on almost anybody. They're just flat out wide open. They spread the field from sideline to sideline. Very interesting in a way, the way they run their back shoulder throws. We were always taught to give the quarterback a lot of space to the outside. They just line up wide and they do back shoulder throws with about a yard of space on the outside, and they almost dare the corner to be physical with them, because if you push them out of bounds, the receiver can come back in and catch it. So when you play them, your DBs are spread out. Your two corners are literally 50 yards apart from one side of the field to the other. The field's 53. The two corners are 50 yards apart.
He's Gary Danielson, part of the SEC on CBS. It'll be Gary. It'll be Brad Nessler. It'll be Jenny Dell. They'll be in Knoxville Saturday, the Gators and the Vols. Gary, as always, thanks for joining us.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes,
Nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, since I know you have your gripes with some uniforms, do you like the Bills blue on blue?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm not a uniform guy. I don't like 17 uniforms per team. I like a home and an away. I'm an old guy.
Right. Keeping it simple.
Because the best uniforms are the simplest ones.
If the Bulls are home, they're wearing white. If they're away, they're wearing red. But then they brought in the black jerseys. And those were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
Now, I will say that one year that the Dolphins wore those orange jerseys, that was an atrocity.
The Dolphins should be wearing their old uniforms. They should have never gotten away from their original color. It's just gotten bluer and bluer over the years.
It's gotten more baby blue, lighter blue. I need a more darker teal blue.
I mean, Johnny, Tennessee may win. They're an 11-point favorite. The Gators may win if Richardson plays out of his tree. That he has to have a similar game to that he had against Utah for Florida to win. He does. Right now, Tennessee's the better team. That's all. Doesn't mean that Florida won't win. But when it's an 11-point favorite, it's pretty clear who Vegas thinks going to win. This isn't like the Utah game that was 3 that I got chastised for picking Utah when they were a 3-point favorite. It's 11. No, Utah was supposed to beat them by 3. And it was a game that went down to the last possession, Johnny. I mean, it was a close, hard-fought game. And it was a great game by Richardson, and they won. That was a 3-point spread in Vegas. This I did. I was wrong. Look at my track record, Johnny. I've been wrong a lot. I'm merely telling you that you're telling me Tennessee may win. They're an 11-point favorite at home, Johnny.
30 seconds.
That's all. May win. I don't know if I'd lay the 11, but I think Tennessee's going to win.
All right, 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller, we're winding things down on a Tuesday. One of the few times that I am solo. David had to catch a flight. There was no real alternatives for David, either to take a flight now or get home at about midnight tonight. So he headed to the airport in Philadelphia after working last night's Monday Night Football game, where Jalen Hurts was fantastic. Running for 2, throwing for 1 as the Eagles dominate the Vikings.
You think when David woke up this morning and was getting ready for the show, he had all of his bags packed?
Oh, I guarantee it.
The second he had to hop off at 8:55,
I guarantee he was packed last night with the exception of what he was wearing this morning. If it's how I used to do it on the road. Now, David and I are very different on the road. When I traveled into my hockey world way back when and used to have to fly. See, it's different when I worked for the local team here, the Everblades. We bust everywhere. But I happened to work at a AAA level, and we flew everywhere. I literally, I was much younger, and when we would play 2 games on back-to-back nights, usually a lot of Friday, Saturdays, Saturday was a go night. Saturday meant the boys were going out. And I used to sneak off with the players quite a bit, and I would pack all of my stuff, and we traveled in suit and tie. You had to wear, on the airplane, you had to dress properly. Well, I would wear a suit and tie as a broadcaster to the game. I would go out in that same suit and tie. I would then go to sleep in that same suit and tie with everything packed and just kind of tighten up the collar, throw the coat on, and walk down to the bus and head to the airport.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey.
You'd sleep in the suit?
Oh, yes.
Jesus.
Everything but the sport jacket. Yeah. Sport jacket and shoes. Leave those 2 off so that way when the 3 different wake-up calls came, I could make sure that I made the bus to get to the airport.
I need a suit. I don't own a suit. That's bad. That is bad.
You don't own a
That's not true. I own one, but it's back at home. I don't have one with me in Fort Myers. No.
Oh, that's fair enough. I mean, the only thing you're really going to wear it for at your age is a wedding or a funeral.
Right.
I mean, you don't have any job interviews coming that I'm aware of, although you probably should have that around. You probably should have that on call at any time.
Right.
Because the status of Miller and Moulton around here. We're all day-to-day, Felipe. We are all day-to-day. Poll question today revolves around the negative. The bad teams, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Titans, and the Colts are all winless. Which winless team do you think will make the playoffs? Right now, the Bengals getting nearly half of the vote, the Colts getting a little over 25% of the vote, and the Raiders and Titans splitting up the remainder of today's poll question. You can go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter to vote, or floridasportsnetwork.com if you want to vote on today's poll question. Great show. If you missed any of it today, go to all the usual places to download the podcast. We replayed the Gary Danielson interview from 7 o'clock this morning. David Samson talked a little baseball and a little football. And David Samson with some strong opinions on the Tom Brady. David Samson and Pat Kirwan actually both agreeing 100% that the Brady Wednesday off is not a bad thing. They think it is a detrimental thing. I mean, they literally, Pat said it's a way not to win a championship. I mean, both of them, one from a baseball background, one from a football background, neither of them like this at all. I don't seem to have the same problem with that they do.
Well, it is a bad thing in theory, but when you think about who we're talking about here, we're talking about Tom Brady. And I think that everyone on the Buccaneers knows and has like a level of respect for Tom Brady and recognizes that he is a 45-year-old man still starting at the quarterback position in the highest level of football on earth. So
will be interesting. If you saw Evans after the little melee in which Evans looked directly at the official and said, "What am I supposed to do? That's Tom Brady." I think they hold Brady in high enough regard inside the locker room that he can get away with it. That's David and I are on the same page there. It could not be any more polar opposite than both what David Samson and Pat Kirwan. I mean, Pat Kirwan, who's been in NFL locker rooms his whole life, thinks that it's one thing if Brady's, and this is the one thing we don't know, Brady's getting Wednesday off. Does that mean he has to be at the facility? And that's what we will find out tomorrow, because I am guessing every single Bucs beat writer is going to get there really early or know what Tom drives or whatever the case may be and find out if Brady is showing up at all in the complex when they start putting in the game plans for the next week.
Well, here's my thing. Because every year we try to, especially recently in his 40s, we try to count out Brady. He's getting worse. He's getting worse. I think this is now an indication that he is finally falling off.
See, I don't think that at all, because the ball still comes out of his hands the same way. I think this is a housekeeping thing. I think whether he's got to spend time with, I mean, the kid should be in school. I mean, I don't even understand why he needs Wednesday off. I didn't like the fact that he took the 11 days off from training camp, but I'm like, all right, his wife's about to leave him. He's got to fix things at home. It is Tom Brady, after all. Any other player, they would say, sorry, you're not allowed to go anywhere. Tom gets that, and I understand that. But the Wednesday off, if it is simply just not practicing and at the facility, then that's fine. If he gets another day away from the facility, it will be interesting to see how this plays out over the course of the entire season. They are, by the way, the Bucs. Cole Beasley signed to the practice squad this morning. It is looking like he will be activated to the main roster pretty quickly, because they're going to be without, it looks like they're going to be without Julio. They're still without Godwin, and now Evans is suspended.
Yeah, he might replace Scotty Miller. We'll see about that.
If not this week, next week, depending on who the inactives are for this week. Miller may last. I think you're on the right track, Felipe. I totally think you're on the right track there, because Scotty Miller had a couple of drops, and that doesn't get it done with Tom. No. So, but the fact of the matter is, if there's no Julio, they both may be on the roster for this week, and we'll see how quickly Cole can catch up with the offense of what they need him for on Sunday. But the other game last night, the Bills, dominant again. After whooping up on the Rams in week 1, they whipped up on the Titans last night. Josh Allen with 4 TD passes. He looked spectacular.
Ryan Tannehill's so bad.
That was bad Ryan Tannehill last night.
He's bad.
Derrick Henry is, they had Derrick Henry, they had the offense figured out, and when you have the offense figured out and you put a team in a hole like that, that's when an average quarterback can look bad. I'm not a Tannehill guy, and I never have been, but you also have to understand, once that game gets 24/7 and you're telling Tennessee, who is a run-first team, Tennessee's offense is, we all know it, it's all predicated on what Derrick Henry can do. And they started taking that away. So now we're going to put the game's hands in Ryan Tannehill with that defense who can get after the quarterback without blitzing. I mean, Buffalo is going to make a lot of teams look bad this year. I don't argue with you on the Ryan Tannehill thing, because I'm not a Tannehill guy. But I'm going to give most of last night to the Bills as opposed to Tennessee being bad, because I think the Bills are going to do that to a lot of teams. I think the Bills could do that to the Dolphins on Sunday, and I'm high on the Dolphins.
At home in Miami, 1 p.m.
I hope it's 240 degrees with humidity to match.
But that's the thing. It's really hard to play football games in Miami in September. It's really difficult.
And you just have to hope it's hot. Dolphins will wear their white.
Oh, yeah.
And it will be an interesting Sunday, to say the very least, as we are now a couple of weeks into the NFL season, and the Dolphins 2-0, one of the few undefeated teams. How about that? The Bucs as well, 2 different styles on Sunday, as the Bucs do it with defense, going old school. And hell, for that matter, the Dolphins went old school. They looked like they had an offense for the first time in Felipe's life.
Yes, in my entire existence, 22 years.
And it was impressive, to say the very least, of what Tua did. But now Buffalo staring them down, and the Bills. If there's a flaw on the Bills, it's whether or not they can run the football without Josh Allen. But I'm trying to find the defense one that can slow them down, to see if we can even find that out, to take the passing game away. Miami's corners better than what the Bills played last night. So we'll see in that area. and trying to make the Bills beat you running the football. That's what the Dolphins are going to try to do. But I don't know right now. The Bills have weapons. They did that last night without
Gabe Davis.
With Davis playing.
Yeah.
That's
scary. That's scary. Stephon Diggs, as he puts it, he is him.
And he was something last night with 3 touchdown receptions. Miller and Moulton. Still a little bit of work to do before we wrap it up on a Tuesday. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was the day when, and what's on tap still all ahead. Where else? Right here. Miller and Moulton. The only place you can find us is the Florida Sports Network. Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Till in the Twitch chat. David and my daughter were on the same flight 3 weeks ago. David had an FGCU shirt.
I saw it.
He shut his eyes as soon as he sat down. Wait, what? Mike Evans actually got suspended?
Where have you been?
I thought that was just a...
No?
I didn't know that it was an actual...
Well, you skip the show sometimes. I got to tell you.
No, I mean, I know we were talking about it, but I thought we were talking about the possibility of that happening. I didn't know it actually.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. The meme of Trump going, "No, get them off. Turn those lights off. They're too bright." And just like saying the lights are too bright for X player. It's so funny. "30 seconds. "15.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton winding things down on a Tuesday. Great show today. If you missed any of it, you can download it at all the usual suspects. We had Pat Kirwan, Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times, David Samson, Gary Danielson all joined the show today. You know, one of the things that comes out on Tuesday before we get to our finished business here is the NFL power polls. Everybody's got to do their NFL poll. Pat will do one later today. And we just saw one in the break, so I started kind of doing my own, even though it's not something we do on the show. And it's obvious. The Bills are the best team in the league. We all know that. We all think that. And until proven otherwise, they're on top.
Yes.
With the Chiefs start, I think they're clearly second.
Yes.
Now, after that, the Eagles had a really nice performance. Minnesota looked good in week 1. The Eagles have looked good back-to-back weeks. The Bucs have won 2 games with great defense. If you're going to put the 2-0 teams there, I would think it would be some semblance of the Eagles and Bucs. That leaves the Dolphins because the Giants don't make the top 5 list.
Obviously, I don't think the Giants are a top 10 team.
No, they're not. And I'm just trying to look. Now, it's tough to ask you these questions because you don't think logically. You think like a fan. No, you think like a fan still.
No.
And I thought like a fan when I was your age, and I still in some cases do. You still think like a fan, and that's okay. You're supposed to. But right now, Miami or Green Bay?
I mean, Miami has the better roster. They do.
Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback of the Green Bay
That's
Packers.
one guy.
Exactly.
And it's a big guy.
Exactly.
But it's one guy.
Miami or the Rams?
I don't know.
Because I'm looking at all the 1-1 teams.
How deep?
You know, I wouldn't say the Commanders. I wouldn't say the Cowboys. I certainly wouldn't say the Lions or Bears. I wouldn't say the Saints with Jameis. I wouldn't say the Cardinals or Seahawks for that matter. And I mean, I know it's just one snapshot in time, and if Miami gets their doors blown off by Buffalo, we can think differently. But the Patriots, they already beat. The Jets are bad. The Steelers are god-awful. They beat the Ravens. The Jags are 1-1. I'm not taking the Jags over them. Maybe the Chargers would be right there. And the other team I have now that Jimmy Garoppolo is their starting quarterback, San Francisco 49ers.
Did you see how happy his teammates were?
You're damn right. Because now they got a quarterback that they think they can win a Super Bowl with. I'm telling you.
I would be salty if I was Trey Lance.
You're going to get excited today because those power polls are going to come up. And if Sunday at 1 o'clock were a college game, it would be number 1 Buffalo taking on number 5 Miami. And it would be this classic top 5 matchup. That's the way it will be built.
I don't even want to.
And power polls are silly to do in the National Football League because they work everything out themselves. But they are going to come out today, and Dolph fan is going to freak out when all of a sudden they see that many people are going to have their Miami Dolphins as a top 5 team in the National Football League.
I don't want to jinx it or anything, but what happens if the Dolphins win on Sunday?
Hey, they're only a 5-point dog in the game against Buffalo, so we will find out. Time now for...
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Boy, if there were ever a time for Moulton to leave early, it was today with the funeral yesterday and the scene arrangement.
Man.
He'd have been up in arms over where they put...
Yeah, you got nothing with me. I could care less about that.
You got that right. We said a couple of days ago that the Star Spangled Banner was written, but it was today in 1814 that it was published as a song. Lyrics by Francis Scott Key. Tune by John Stratford Smith.
On Spotify?
I think. Early. It had a Pandora channel as well.
Ah, great. Gotcha.
1893, the first gasoline-powered car debuts in Springfield, Massachusetts.
That's right, because I think the first cars were hydrogen-powered, no? I think so. I could be wrong about that.
1913, U.S. Open men's golf tournament. Francis Ouimet wins his only Open title, winning by 5. Today in 1919, Babe Ruth ties Ned Williamson's MLB mark of 27 home runs. I think he'd go to hit a few more in the next years.
Yeah.
24 PGA, Walter Hagen wins. In 1951, Major League Baseball owners elect Ford Frick as the 3rd baseball commissioner, a 7-year term at $65,000 per year. Today in 61, Roger Maris hits home run 59 and barely misses 60 in game 154 of the season. 1969, the Ryder Cup was the great tie, 16-16, when Nicklaus concedes the 3-foot to Tony Jacklin. Today in 1970, Jim Morrison found guilty of open profanity and indecent exposure after exposing himself at a concert in Miami.
Oh, man.
The Battle of the Sexes was today in 1973 when Billie Jean King beats Bobby Riggs. Willie Mays would also announce his retirement at the end of the 73 season today.
Billie Jean King won that?
Yes.
What? Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that.
49 years ago today. 75 Ryder Cup was the U.S. destroying Great Britain and Ireland. 1980, George Brett goes 0 for 4 today, dropping his average below 400 for good. September 19th, he was hitting 400 going into the last couple of weeks of the season, went 0 for 4, and that ended George Brett's chance at the magical 400. Also, today in 1980, Ozzy Osbourne's debut solo album, Blizzard of Oz, come off with the best 2 tracks ever. I'm telling you right now, for hard rock, I love the start of this album. 81 Ryder Cup, we destroy the Europeans. It was the final Ryder Cup for Nicklaus as a player. He would win all 4 of his matches.
USA, USA.
Yeah, we didn't even chant that then because we were just destroying them.
When did that start?
when did the Ryder Cup start? Long before that,
No.
but we started losing in, I think, the late 80s we lost.
But I'm saying was the USA.
Oh, the USA. That's
how long has
80
that
Olympics.
been a thing? 80 Olympics?
I mean, that's the first time I remember it.
Okay.
Lake Placid. Today in 84, The Cosby Show premieres on NBC. Today in 88, Wade Boggs becomes the first player to get 200 hits for 6 consecutive seasons. And Ray J opens as the Bucks down the Bears 27-15. The show This Is Us premiered 6 years ago today. And it was last year that Salvador Perez hits his 46th home run to break Johnny Bench's record for most home runs in a season by a catcher.
Salvi.
Those born today that are no longer with us: Red Auerbach, Tommy Nobis, and Guy Lafleur. Those that are celebrating their birthdays today: Sophia Loren is 88, Juan Pablo Montoya is 47, and Jonathan Tavares is 32 years old today. Did I miss anything from the bubble, Felipe?
We had a game winner, buzzer beater in the bubble today in 2020. Anthony Davis, he had a game-winning 3 against the Nuggets in the conference finals.
I really wish the bubble would have never happened.
It was awesome. So great. Oh, my gosh. I loved it.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good, we go across the pond and Nathan Crimp, my new hero.
Huh?
Nathan Crimp, 22 years old. If you could do something like this guy, you could be my hero too, Felipe.
Okay.
He broke the Guinness World Record by having a drink in 67 different pubs in a single 24-hour period.
Whoa.
He did it in about 17 hours. He was accompanied by a pair of friends. He said to beat the record of 56 pubs, which was set earlier this year. He said it was easily the hardest thing I've ever done. I completely underestimated how hard it was going to be. The plan was to try to keep it sober for the first 25 pubs. But that went out the window 15 pubs in. I had to mix it up a little bit. I tried to drink alcohol in one and non-alcohol in the other. Tried to space it out. He had to collect evidence and receipts from where he was at. He said the hardest part was constantly having to go to the toilet, which took up the majority of the time.
I want to know what roadster / coupe he was riding in.
Hopefully a Mini.
I mean, if it's across the pond, you know.
Hopefully a Mini. I'm guessing it was a lot of taxi cabs. For the bad, we go to Ocean City, Maryland, where Ashley Crooks is not a good person.
Well, she's a crook.
She is. And Ashley, see, she had a job that would be a job that helps people. She is the owner of a counseling service that treats children, adolescents, and adults struggling with mental health and substance abuse. The problem was she stole all of their credit cards and racked up $40,000 in charges in 2 months texting psychics.
So,
texting psychics. She is supposed to be treating people for addiction, and she's addicted to psychics.
Yeah. You'll definitely get away with that one in 2022.
Finally, the ugly. We go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, where Doug Ramsey was arrested following the Arkansas victory over Missouri State. Doug Ramsey is the COO of Beyond Meat. Now, that's one of those fake meat companies, for those of you that don't know. Those fake plant burger crap.
Plant-based meat.
What
they call it.
Yeah, knock yourself out. Show you what happens. Ramsey probably had too many of those non-burgers when he got into a fight on the way out. Apparently, a Subaru inched its way in front of Ramsey's Bronco. Making contact with the front passenger side tire. That's when Ramsey got out and punched the back of the Subaru window. Then he was able to get the man out of the vehicle and started punching him and bit the man on his nose, ripping the flesh on the tip of his nose.
Ooh, that's not very anti-meat of you.
Ramsey was named the COO of Beyond Meat in December 2021. We'll see when he resigns. COO of Beyond Meat, and we'll keep you updated on that story. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on this day, September 20th, 2022.
Might have to check in that Bronco, too. Boy.
Baseball today, Diamondbacks at Dodgers this afternoon, the only afternoon game. Dodgers looking for victory 103. Astros and Rays, Cubs and Marlins for the Florida teams. Red Sox are at Cincinnati. Toronto is at Philadelphia. Baltimore hosts Detroit. Pittsburgh taking on the Yankees. The Nats and Braves do it one more time. Mets at the Brewers. LA at Texas. Minnesota at Kansas City. Cleveland and the White Sox. First of three. If the White Sox are going to make anything happen, they've got to sweep the Guardians if they want any shot in that division. In fact, Arizona and the Dodgers playing a double dip tonight. So the Dodgers trying to get themselves up to 104. What an impressive season for the Dodgers. And that's a little bit of what's on tap here for a Tuesday night. We're a ways away from action, but we will get there. And as we mentioned throughout the show today, the Dolphins with a great start. The Dolphins and Bills this Sunday. We'll start looking ahead to that tomorrow. But the power polls will come out today. And Dolphin, who's going to be giddier? I mean, I'm guessing Eagles fan, but I've seen you have 2 days of that hop to your step, Felipe. You have not lost it. You walked in this morning. This is 2 days in a row. You've gotten through the entire show without falling asleep. You've almost not been bored with the show. And I think it all is because of the start of the Miami Dolphins.
Well, football's back, you know.
Yeah, but
we were in a bit of a dead zone in the calendar, sports calendar.
But you admit football's not your number one. Basketball's your number one.
Well,
so if the Dolphins were off to a 1-1 start, I don't think there'd be as much hitch in your giddy up, if you know what I mean.
But do we have the same roster? Because if we have the same roster, I'm still, excited, optimistic about the season. But now I'm really excited about the season. And by the way, basketball still is my number one, but Miller and Moulton has really thrown football up the ranks. I'll say that. It's close.
Glad we could do something.
Yeah.
Glad we could do something for you.
There you go.
Poll question. Which winless team do you think will make the playoffs? Right now, the Bengals getting 42% of the vote. The Colts getting 28%. The rest being split up between the Raiders and the Titans. You can go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network to vote, or FloridaSportsNetwork.com if you don't want to do it on the Twitter.
You think the Twins have any shot?
No, they're done.
Damn
Completely
shame.
done.
Damn shame.
No. That's
7 games
They're
back.
7 back with 2 weeks to go. That's impossible. The only team that has a shot is the White Sox. The White Sox are 4 back, but they have 3 games against the Guardians. They have to win all 3.
Yeah.
And this thing looked like it was going to be a race 2 weeks ago. And outside of the Braves and the Mets going at it there, I don't really think the Brewers have an outside shot to catch the Phillies. But this looks as if this sucker's done as far as the wild cards go. And like I said, I thought we were going to have some really good races, but right now the Brewers are 2.5 back of the Phillies. Maybe. I mean, that I'll give at least a puncher's chance. But as far as the Twins go, they had it. That was right there in front of them. And they couldn't get it done against Cleveland.
Pain for the Minnesota sports fan. Endless pain.
Well, it was Kirk Cousins in prime time. They should have known what they were getting into.
My gosh. He was bad.
And he's winless on Monday night. And he was winless on prime time forever. I think it's like 2 and whatever now of Cousins in prime time. It was a bad performance. They were outclassed last night by Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. And what impressed me was how good the Eagles defense was.
Yeah.
I thought that
big play slay.
He was phenomenal. And Jefferson was completely taken out of the game.
He had 1 catch.
Right.
Against him.
After being open for the entire game the week before.
Yeah.
So good coaching on the part of the Eagles. And they talked about that after Slate talked about that after the game. That coach told me what to do. I just listened. And man, oh man, he had a pair of interceptions and could have had a few more in that game. Seth Everett will join us on the program tomorrow, as he always does on Wednesday. If you missed any of Miller and Moulton, go to all the usual spots to download the podcast. We thank you so very much for listening. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. David's back in studio right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles